Good morning or afternoon or whatever time of day it is for you, exiles. Welcome back for some more PoE sports. We are back here with week 2 of the first ever races, the first ever events for Path of Exile 2. Last week we had an absolute bloodbath, a very beta first race. It was a bit raw, a bit uncut, and I'm excited to see what we have on the cards for today. I'm ZIGGYD and I'm joined here by none other than RaizQT. How you going today, Raiz? And are you excited for today's race?
Always super excited about these, right as you're talking about Bloodbath. You guys don't see it, but I'm already seeing Terrence die repeatedly on his way to the Devourer. So I think some things, might improve. Some other ones, not as much. We'll see.
It's the race hasn't even started yet. How's he managing that? Doing a bit of last minute practice, eh?
That is the thing, right? That things are easy when you're leveling normally, but when you're really trying to ramp up, when you're treating your HP as a resource and not just something that you always want to have topped off, yeah, sometimes you're gonna limit test a little bit too close to the sun, and yeah, I think we're gonna be seeing a lot of that.
Oh yeah, we definitely saw a lot of deaths last week, especially in the later parts of Act 3. But just to give you a bit of an overview, if you're joining us for the first time, maybe you missed the previous week. This is an Act 3 DORYANI kill race. So the first 3 acts of the campaign to completion without the need for any specific sort of side quests, it being an any percent sort of speed run. And Raiz, for the newer players, maybe who haven't experienced Path of Exile racing before, kind of what's it all about? What's it all come down to?
For the most part, a lot of these guys have been practicing speedrunning for quite a while. The things that you really want to be doing is going fast, getting through the campaign as quickly as you possibly can. In this case, we are doing an any percent, so the players aren't necessarily going to be aiming for getting all of the skill points and getting the ascendancies and all of these sort of things, but they will be trying to get to Act 3 as quickly as possible, and the previously mentioned deaths will matter because even though it is not a hardcore race, it is a fixed seed race, so everybody will have the same map. And also, whenever anybody dies, there is a 1 minute death penalty. So they're going to have to stand around, pretty much do nothing for that 1 minute. So
we saw, even though it was extremely unpolished for most of the races last week, we saw some really interesting strategies, very diverse playing field, because there is prizes for the first on each of the different classes. So we do get to see a good bit of everyone. And because some of the less practiced classes last week, took 4 or 5 hours to finish compared to 2.5 hours for the fastest. We didn't necessarily get to see all of the playing field, but this time I'm pretty happy to report from practice that nearly everyone looks to be coming in at under 3 hours or close to. So we have much more refined strategies, a lot more practice runs under people's belts this time. So I'm pretty excited to see how things have evolved. And I mean, we have to, there's no sugarcoating it. Angormus kind of whooped everyone last week, right? It was
Angormus,
pretty dominant.
Everybody was kind of expecting Angormus to do well last race, but I don't know if everybody was expecting him to do that well. There's always these are really 2 separate things, right? When it comes to speedrunning and getting your personal bests and really trying to get a lot of your records versus actually participating in a race, not being able to reset when things don't go your way, and having enough practice to be able to adjust to the situation. Angormus has done more practice than anybody else, I think, and it really shows in the way that he isn't just min-maxing things, but it's also just very adaptable. He always adapts to the situation because he's experienced most of the things that he had to perform at 100% in these races.
Yeah, I think we saw it was fairly close in the first act where people had a lot of practice, but as second act and third act wore on, Angormus's extra practice through those acts, much more refined strategy really showed its supremacy. And Angormus is playing on the Warrior, which many people have seen to be the dominant class now in racing, which was a big surprise to a lot of people last week, I'm sure. Maybe a surprise to some of you now. But Warrior is very dominant in the racing scene. But we did see a little bit of kind of like an inkling that maybe there was some competition from some of the other classes. And from some of the practice times I'm seeing, it seems like maybe at least Witch might be able to pose a bit of a threat to the Warrior dominance, which is exciting. So it might not be quite so locked in as it maybe looked based on Angormus's times. Did have some people saying that, but they're not actually sure if it's Warrior that's OP or if it's just Angormus that's OP. And maybe we'll get to answer that question.
Yeah, I was going to say, It was a little bit skill diff last week, so I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more versatility. If you're a fan of a particular class and you're upset that warrior is just that much better, I think we're going to be seeing things being a lot closer now. Although, keep in mind, I mean, Angormus has pretty much been practicing for 3 months for this. You know, he hasn't been practicing for this. He hasn't known about it. No insider info.
He was just practicing for the love of it, and that
he just likes it.
The people who are doing that have that advantage at the start, and they get to start off their PoE2 racing career in a legendary fashion. And I did ask Angormus about that yesterday, actually, whether he was going for all 3 demis, whether he was happy to settle for maybe just one. And he said, "I'm going to sweep all 3 races, and if you don't want to see that happen, then you better beat me." That was a quote from Angormus on stream yesterday. So I love to hear that. And I also want to say that his practice time yesterday was even better than his finish during the race, and even better than his world record previously. So that was 2:28:37 was the finish last week for Angormus. The practice run was 2:18. We're getting close to that 2-hour mark at this point. That is very Kill Monster fast.
I mean, it's especially impressive because his time last week wasn't that far off of the actual world record, which, again, it really showcases how much effort he's put into this, because it's very difficult to get a run going that consistently, and he's just been able to do it, and not just do it once. You know, he's going beyond it and improving these times. It's really good. But something that we haven't mentioned, although we are talking about the demis and the first classes, there is a grand prize in the 3rd race. So all of these players aren't just playing for their demis, for their classes right now. They still want to be on that strong class to be able to get that big laptop reward in the last race for that overall #1.
Absolutely, the extra prize. And I mean, not to mention the bragging rights. It's pretty nice to have your name right at the top of the ladder. Like, if you're at 8th position on the ladder, but you're first in your class, it's people just see the 8th, right? You're just like, you came 8th. It's the top of your class. It's kind of a technicality. You want to win the whole thing if possible. So, yeah, it's I love to see everyone competing on different classes, but also trying to bring those classes to the point where they can compete against each other as well, which is tricky. You know, they all have different skill packages and advantages in that early game, and we saw some very interesting gameplay out of so many of the different classes, with some classes ascending, some not. Skills being used in rather unconventional ways, such as animation cancelling and combining multiple skills together to create brand new skills. Gonna be interesting if you didn't see last week, and interesting to see how people have refined it as well. I did ask Angormus who he's was most worried about on Warrior, because obviously with Warrior being so dominant, is there anyone else on Warrior who's threatening? And there was definitely a few people that were tailing him not too far behind, and he was quite worried about Alex Pleblot, actually. And I asked Alex how he was feeling about this upcoming race, and he said, "Well, I quadrupled my practice from 2 runs to 8, so people better watch out." So it sounds like Alex maybe didn't have all that much time to practice before the last race. So at this point, maybe at least 4 times better, right? That's a significant improvement.
Yeah, Alex is kind of a monster in PoE1. There was once upon a time a point where everybody was getting comfortable with racing, and then Alex showed up and really put in the work, really put in the practice, and everybody kind of went, okay, you know what? We better start practicing too, because this guy is getting a little bit too close to our best times.
We also saw like the follower up class last week, the one that was trailing just behind Warrior was Witch on the Infernalist, and the one that we saw was the finish that we saw for that was rather incredible, historic, in that Guy That Dies and ZIGGYD finished with the exact same time down to the second of 3 hours, 18 minutes and 12 seconds. And it was actually unclear as to who won there. It ended up being the Guy That Dies who won with the top position on the ladder. And I believe that was due to the level difference in the end, because the ladder doesn't have a way of distinguishing sub 1 second differences. It's never come up before. So,
yeah, that's never happened.
Yeah, I thought that was a fascinating finish, and I asked Guy That Dies like what he thought about that in the moment. He said, "I thought that Dr. Dex was my main competition, but when he had a bunch of deaths, I thought I was in the clear. He thought he was going to win it, right?" So he laddered, and he saw that there was another Infernalist, and then with a quick who is to see where they were, which is a little trick that racers know to take advantage of, it showed that he was actually about 5 minutes ahead of him. So I got really worried, like, oh no, I've lost it. He thought he was screwed, but he somehow managed to catch him. And looking at the ladders, it looked like that guy that dies was substantially higher level, like 8 levels higher. And I think that might have meant those last minutes of the race meant that he could just kind of push through zones that maybe ZIGGYD couldn't. But we're going to need to switch over now because the race is about to begin.
Switching
Sorry,
over. Speaking of the last minutes, Ziggy, we might as well switch over to the race as we're getting incredibly close to the start.
Here.
30 seconds.
We're racing to the start.
Yeah.
Tell us who we have on screen here today, Rise, and what we should know about them.
Again, Angormus, we've already talked about him in the top left. We've got Sorc, who had a really incredible run on Monk. A lot of people were really skeptical about Monk, but I think Sorc showed that if he just practices a little bit more and gets that mechanical power out, he's going to be able to utilize that bell, really bring the single target together for the Monk, and get some incredible time. So I'm expecting a huge improvement from him. Woody Joe, who has been practicing relentlessly, has stated that he has been improving his strategies. Interesting way of practicing for Woody. As far as I understand from what people were saying, he wasn't really looking at anybody else. He wasn't really comparing times or anything. He was just doing his own thing. And so some of his strategies, weren't as informed, but obviously a very skilled mechanical player. So I think with the new refined approach, I think he might improve his time a lot on a mercenary, which is also a pretty interesting class because it takes a lot of ability to play, especially early on. You have to manage a lot of cooldowns. You have to manage a lot of delayed explosions. And hopefully he's going to be improving his time. And then we've got Terrence, who has switched over, I believe, from a monk to a sorceress. So a little bit less of a...
Wild.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's technically a slower class. Maybe Sorc isn't quite as explored as other classes because people consider it to be so weak. But Terrence just, I believe, probably wants that demi, which means that a less competitive class might result in an easier time at getting the demigod's reward.
I did look at the racing Discord earlier for people training on the Sorc, and they were not having a good time with it. It seems like it's a challenging class to try and figure out, but maybe Terrence can make it happen. We have our Miller kills coming down now, with Angormus having a much smoother Miller kill this time. I asked about his last week Miller kill, which was a bit rough, and he said that he had to like recheckpoint or something, and he lost his shield. So he didn't actually have kind of the usual setup. So there was a bit of a mistake that we missed in that very early start there. But we do see people getting those kills down. And I have to note, is Angormus wearing his demis? I didn't even know you could do that right from the start. I love that.
Yeah,
he's wearing it for the race.
He was zooming in on it before. Yeah, it's not like in PoE 1, you can just equip the MTX. You don't actually need to have a helmet on your head. So you can equip your MTXs from the very start. And I gotta say, it looks pretty sick.
Amazing. So if you're joining us, this is an Act 3 DORYANI any percent kill race. It is in solo self-found softcore. And if they die, they have a 1-minute death timer where they cannot move. So they want to avoid that at all costs. But death is not the end. And we have seen even the top players die. Angormus had 1 death last week, but many players had many deaths last week. And what's it all about? It's about kill monster fast. So we're going to see some very interesting strategies for that. And I just have to point out again, the early game here for the Warrior. Look at Angormus bringing the big pack to beer of the bottom pack. That's exactly what he wants to do. He uses Rolling Slam's first hit to slam the ground, getting all of the enemies ready to be stunned, and then Bone Shatter to trigger the AoE explosion on Beer of the Rotten Pack for a big boost of damage to get that fight started. And then for any of the ad swarms that she summons, he can do the same thing again. Right now, the single target is just the regular Mace Strike, and later on that'll be replaced by Perfect Strike. But that Rolling Slam animation cancel into Bone Shatter is such a powerful, like, early game combo. That's a completely unique skill that the Warriors have created and designed out of the other skill pack that they have in their package.
Yeah, and already a huge improvements, I think, across the board, because last week, Beira took a lot of lives. We had a lot of rip clips already immediately from the get-go. We're not seeing that, at least for our 4 contenders here. We will be switching over to different streams, checking out different players. We're trying to keep tabs on the ladder. If you guys want to watch somebody in particular, make sure to mention it. But no rips so far, and that's already, I think, for some of these guys, a big improvement here.
Terrence goes a little low there on some packs of wolves. trying to pick up the extra support gem or the extra skill gem from the little side area chest there. And but does manage to survive, avoids that early death, which is nice. And then Angormus is the first into the Mudbury here, as far as we can see. The Devourer, of course, is an optional boss. You don't have to kill the Devourer, but we did last week and in practice runs see people going for quite a lot of these side quests and boss, at least in the first act, and quite a few of them in the second act as well, in order to ensure that they had a good amount of levels and the power that they needed to be able to blast through the third act. So we will see a few optional things get done, despite the the time cost of going ahead and doing them.
As my player crashes and I cannot see anything, Ziggy, you might as well continue.
Yes, I also had the same thing. Getting back in here, we what are we up to?
Okay.
Oh, looks like we've got Angormus now coming in on the Devourer fight. And the Devourer fight for the Warrior here is fairly straightforward with default attack, if possible, a little bit of rolling slam when the ads are spawned. But for the most part, this is just going to be about placing yourself well, very tiny little dodge rolls, and that perfectly timed Bone Shatter, which we do see go down for Angormus there, just to finish off that stun as the stagger bar gets nice and close, just to buy him a bit of extra time to deal damage without needing to dodge. You don't want to lose kind of any of those seconds. And you can just see like really confident, refined play there, where he knows exactly where he needs to stand, how little he needs to move. Ooh, that was a little bit of a concerning slam into breath there, but he didn't seem to take the damage, managed to deal with it quite well. And then the rolling slam with the grub finish right there off the Bone Shatter. Love it. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and some good currency drops. You guys are going to be noticing that everybody's going to be picking up just about everything, trying to get their gear ready for those more difficult later stages of the game, and specifically Act 2. Oh, latter parts of Act 1 as well. But Act 2, and then most importantly, Act 3, as most likely in Act 3, spoiler alert, we're not really going to be seeing a whole lot of fighting from most of these players. And that was one of the huge differences last week. For PoE 1, for the most part, there's always been an agreed level that you're going to get to depending on the sort of race that you're participating in. Just to save yourself time, you're not going to be over leveling. But last week, we saw some of the demis be claimed at level 35, at level 38, which is very different compared to, I believe, the level 28 that Angormus had.
Right. Yeah, 28 is the goal level for the Warriors, with that being the ideal spot to get your final mace upgrade to be able to have the damage that you want to be able to clear through Act 3. And then try and push through at the barest minimum possible level. We saw other players leveling up a lot more, trying to reach certain breakpoints. Like, for example, some mercenaries trying to get the Bombardier crossbow, which I believe required like 32. So that can take a fair bit of extra time. It can make Act 3 a lot safer. But the less time you spend leveling, the better. And there's a lot of refinement that's gone into, Angormus is having a little bit of trouble with some of the wolves there, but manages to deal with it quite well. We've seen a lot of refinements into the XP and leveling strategy of the different races as well. And especially I've been watching Angormus figure that out and optimized his leveling strategy. And he's added in tactics like farming a little bit in the Mordun mines in Act 2 to try and ensure certain level breakpoints, and even refining some of these, how he approaches and the order he does certain early acts in.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. Yeah, these things are going to be evolving very quickly. It's only been a week, but since everybody's improving their time that much, it's cool to see that it's not just people trying to get other people's strategies, but also taking those strategies and then trying to modify them and improve them for themselves to get a better time in the future. And that's really all that this PoE racing is about. It's kind of a solo event, right? Everybody's in it to win it for themselves. And it's also a community event. So if you are interested in being a part of this community and learning from this, maybe improve your times or participate in the upcoming race, be sure to join the racing Discord. Just heads out to anybody out there as our players continue to get through the Grail Wood. Some of them opting to go for the Witch. Some of them probably doing so as well, but maybe delaying it by just a little bit, as Angormus is now taking her down. He already, I believe, took the potions, picks up all of the gear, and a pretty smooth kill, and a nice weapon, one-handed with 44 physical damage there. So pretty good stuff for Angormus.
Yeah, that's nice. He'll maybe be able to take advantage of that. The preference is for the two-hander here, but the one-handed for the weapon swap is still quite useful. And sometimes I'll see him change his early game based on the weapons that he gets. But right now, the rolling slam with the two-handed mace is kind of calculated like the baseline, what he needs to be able to get stuns consistently on packs. We get a little bit of difficulty grouping up that pack there, but gets the nice explosion on the largest possible pack. You'll see races typically group up large amounts of enemies, depending on how their skills work. And certainly the rolling slam into Bone Shatter favors grouping up as large a pack as possible, so that you just amplify your damage with all of the stacking hits as much as possible. From Ariadne for Angormus, we saw an Exalt drop, which is a really nice early grab as well. And we did see actually Alex Pleblord kind of take the lead in terms of progression here, also on the Warrior. And he had a more difficult Ariadne kill, but despite that, has still managed to head into the Red Veil first ahead of Angormus with like a solid 1 to 2 minute lead at this point, which is impressive.
Yeah, that really does make a huge difference as we're now watching Dr. Dexter fight the Rust King, the first person to do so, as we've seen so far.
On the Sorc, no less.
It's a pretty challenging fight. Oh yeah, wow, that's especially impressive. A lot of players were saying that Spark is this incredible skill, but as much as it is pretty nice in Act 1, it tends to struggle later on. So to be able to utilize it so expertly here is very impressive by Dr. Dexter. Do keep in mind that all of these players have the same layout. It is a fixed seed layout. So yeah, maybe he had some better boss patterns. Maybe he skipped a little bit more mobs to get here early, but nonetheless, very impressive. And the boss kill was quite clean. This boss, I'm sure many of you guys have experienced it. Generally pretty easy, but he does have that one semi one-shot mechanic. Well, it's not quite a one-shot. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, but your HP drops to 0 nonetheless. So obviously our players are going to be seeking to avoid that as much as possible here.
I'm impressed to see the early game lead that Dr. Dexter appears to have on the Sorc right now. I don't know if we saw any like skipped early sections, but it looks like so far just a nice clean run through the Red Veil as Alex Pleblord and Angormus are still clearing their zones, with Alex Pleblord still kind of leading the charge there by about a minute as he uses those Bone Shatter procs to get massive explosions on those grouped up enemies from the rune activations there. And we get to see Angormus moving into that just now with the rolling slams, followed by the Bone Shatters. A little bit of a misplay there as he doesn't quite get the Bone Shatter proc. It can be a little bit difficult if you don't quite get their health into that right range. Alex Pleblord moving into his Rust King kill now as the Rust King is summoned into being. And a really good thing about the Warrior here, if you can manage to pull it off, is to group up the adds from the summons for a gigantic Bone Shatter proc for all that extra damage. You see a quick little gem swap there, and that's putting Martial Tempo on Mace Strike just for that very big, nice single target damage. He has some added lightning damage on his weapons, and that actually results in a very lucky shock proc here for a 20% increased damage taken for a nice, fast Rust King kill with the explosion to finish him off. That was a really good Rust King kill. He actually had him stunned pretty much the whole time. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and that's really what you're going to be looking to do, right? The bosses don't really do any damage to you when they're stunned, so you're looking to min-max that as much as possible, but then also you're canceling very important mechanics while also trying to not cancel the mechanics that give you the opportunity to deal as much damage as possible. Not as much min-maxing on the Rust King, but a really clean and nice kill nonetheless, and a huge stun coming out for Angormus. Yeah, you see that min-maxing so clean. But doesn't quite get it in one go. The double add, here comes the Bone Zone.
Yeah,
and
nice.
He dies just like that. Pretty much a 2-tap.
Yep, absolutely boned with the Bone Shatter proc. And now we have Sarge 2 on the Monk, which the Monk gets very spicy later on once they get multiple bells to place down. But this early game for the Monk, if you have played a Monk, those first few levels can be a little bit more challenging than the later ones. And we do see... Yeah, yes. I was sure
say it how it is, Ziggy. It's pain.
It is suffering. But these racers know how to make the best of a bad situation here, and we see optimally placed, distanced here for the attacks to get the maximum damage there as they keep the Rust King frozen, stunned, and locked down for at least a nice safe kill there. Are forced away at the end there to lose a few seconds time, having to avoid another one of the boss slams, getting stuck behind a tree. Just losing precious seconds here at the end.
Yeah.
Does manage to get the kill nonetheless with an Iron Ring drop and a belt drop as well off the boss, which is nice. Early jewelry is actually quite rare So to get those slots filled with anything is a big advantage. Dr. Dexter eating a lot of barrages from the Rotten Druid here, but again, still leading the zone progression. As long as I don't lose it to an unfortunate death on the Rotten Druid, for example, they're going to be good. But we do see a very nice kill in the end there. And oh no, I spoke too soon. The post-death kill to the fungal explosions right at the end. That is very unfortunate for Dr. Dexter. Is likely going to cost them their early lead, as Angormus was just behind them, and Alex Pueblo just moves ahead of them right as they die. So a bit of time to sort out their gems and stuff. So the time's not going to be fully wasted, but still not what they wanted to see. And Alex Pueblo had taken the lead into the cemetery. I love this, putting the pressure on the previous last week dominant Angormus. We'll see if they can maintain this advantage here.
Yeah, we did talk about how in Act 1 it was pretty close, and there are going to be certain things they're going to be skipping early on. I think we've already kind of seen that from Dr. Dexter, that maybe he got around some of the side quests earlier, and that ended up costing him, because it did result in a slightly weaker character, and now he's painfully clicking. You can see that you have died recently and cannot perform any actions. He's spamming relentlessly, finally manages to begin to move once again. And yeah, that 1 minute penalty this early on is just such a huge deal for our players, as we're only at 15 minutes now, already at cemetery for some of them, for some others making it through the grim tangle. And Angormus playing it safe and going back to the checkpoint, wasting precious seconds once again. And that is really one of the most difficult parts about this, because yeah, you might as well play it safe and go to the checkpoint, but what if you just didn't die there and managed to survive with ever so barely enough HP? As long as it's not 0, it's more than good enough. And they've always got that dilemma to get through. Do they really need to go back to the checkpoint, or can they stick around and continue to go forward? Angormus decides to go to the checkpoint, takes the safe route, and I think for him that's probably going to be the better strategy. He doesn't need to cut any corners. He doesn't need to save himself as many seconds as a lot of these other players, because he's got that practice. And as much as he is a little bit behind right now, I think eventually that tortoise approach is going to make a big difference in his play. As you can see, Alex dropping very low, ignited 2, and he doesn't resurrect that checkpoint. He knows that to beat Angormus on a highly competitive warrior class, he's going to need every single bit of time that he can get, and he can't afford to go back to those checkpoints. He has to play slightly more risky, and this time around, it pays off.
We'll see reset at checkpoint used a lot strategically as well as for safety. Angormus picking up that extra ring there from the side area is very nice. He's got an exalt. But no transmutes or anything for it at this point. But yeah, the reset at checkpoint can be used to, if you're going the wrong direction, take basically a shortcut to go in the correct direction, to kind of reposition enemies in zones, to reposition quest objectives in zones. Alex having to go for the safety checkpoint there as well.
Oh no, and he was so close to the boss too. He was so close. He really didn't want to do that. That's going to be a huge run back. But I mean, this time around, I guess it's better than having to run back and sitting around for an entire minute.
One nice thing for him here is that in the cemetery, the Team of the Consort, Asinia's zone, has much better density than the other side. So it's actually a preferred spot to get some extra XP. But that said, we do see him kind of, I guess he's already considered himself to be at the ideal level, as he's not really going for the XP as much as just trying to get through here from the looks of things. But yeah, I've seen one of the early game refinements that Angormus was talking about was, like, in terms of cemetery progression, ideally going to Draven's location first, where the density isn't so good when you're getting kind of that XP penalty, and then moving into Asinia's zone second to get the better XP from the higher mob density. Just small things like that, noticing just the differences, the disparities in the zones. Like, you might just think, oh, these are the same location, right? They're two crypt things, aren't they identical? There's differences, and the racers find those and they exploit those.
Yeah, absolutely. I still remember Havoc being one of those people in PoE1 that had a giant spreadsheet where he wrote down all of the XP numbers for all of the enemies. Same for Ty23. I remember he was min-maxing to such an absurd point, especially in those early Act 1 zones. And this isn't quite that level, but it's not too far off as we're watching Alex now fight Asinya. A pretty simple boss, but no boss is simple when it comes to min-maxing the amount of damage they're trying to put out, trying to get her down as soon as possible. Not going to be as dangerous as a lot of the other bosses, but you still have to optimize your play to the maximum. He gets that stun, interrupts a very important mechanic, eats up those ghosts, doesn't want her enraging in any way, and smacks her down with the auto attack. Pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah, nice little bit of extra damage from the shock on the added lightning damage from his attack here. Meanwhile, we've got Angormus moving into his Draven kill. Can be a bit of concern there with the projectiles, but Angormus knows how to use that dodge roll timing perfectly. And we see there's tiny dodge roll in places. Oh, and the very nice stun, Bone Shatter proc there for Draven. Getting that extra damage in, nice and safe. Forced to do a bit of dodging here and lose some time. Kind of moving around the hole, getting back into position.
Yeah, that's already a huge amount of optimization. Sorry to interrupt you, Ziggy. Because he knew that the boss is going to get stunned, he almost preemptively dodge rolled to cancel the backswing of his animation and then get closer to the boss to maximize that damage. That's a big difference that we didn't really see from a lot of players last week. Very often, a boss would get stunned, and you could see the players kind of almost be surprised by it when the boss would wiggle back or fall back, and they would have to reposition their character, wasting precious time. So for Angormus, he knows the drill, and wow, that was really beautiful.
Sarge 2's damage actually looking pretty good here. While Warrior becomes a single target machine later on after they get off of their mace strikes onto perfect strikes. Right now that Monk's actually looking pretty good, and that was a very fast kill there with the optimal distancing and getting a nice good amount of damage. I don't know if they've managed to pick up. Oh, they've got two iron rings from the looks of it, so likely a fair bit of extra damage going on in the gear there, because I was just thinking that looks a lot more damage than usual. So Sarge 2 is having some nice single target advantages. Angormus going a little low in the ambush. This little side event does drop an extra gem, and those extra gems are really helpful early on. But gets a little bit low there, but does manage to grab their uncut support gem. Going back for the chest was kind of a questionable choice, because that gem is dropped by the rare monster, and the chest is basically empty. So I don't know why he went for the chest. He really wanted that 5 gold, I guess. Funny to see, but he does get that extra support gem, and those are pretty crucial. Meanwhile, Alex Pleblord, getting out of position and forced to kind of eat the slam there, but goes a little low, runs out of flask charges. Is going to have to be a bit careful for the rest of this fight. This last 20% proving rather difficult for him, as he's playing it very safe. Goes in for a slam, animation cancels to get back into position, dodging the boss's slam. Very nice play there. Good positioning for avoiding the projectiles, but losing a lot of time, being a bit extra safe here, not really wanting to risk those, taking those extra hits. Has forced to go real wide in this zone right now. We're definitely seeing someone who's very afraid of dying right now, trying to close out a kill that's just not going their way. And Alex does get it, but loses a good 20 seconds in the process. So
that was a huge time loss.
That was a real tough fight for Alex, costing them a bit of time here and maybe letting Angormus catch up.
Yeah, I was watching compared to Sarge, and technically Sarge has the more inferior setup, and he has to range the boss quite more significantly to maximize his damage, and yet he pretty much killed the boss almost twice as fast as Alex did. So quite a lot of room for optimizing here for Alex, for sure. As we're now watching John Grown in the bottom right, I think a lot of people's favorite memer to potentially take a win here. I believe he is playing on a sorceress, right?
So yeah, looks like it.
This might be the trap that a lot of players are falling into, thinking that the sorceress being less competitive is a benefit, but now maybe it's going to be more competitive with everybody thinking the exact same thing.
Are they on a witch? We'll check the ladder. But Alex Pleblord, meanwhile, moving into Lachlan here and gets a nice stun off. Does eat a little bit of extra damage, but still lots of fast charges there. Lachlan of the Endless Lament can be a little scary, and we did see some people have some issues there. The stomp is not what he wants. You want a nice clean kill where you get him down before he does the stomp, because the stomp really slows you down as you're forced to evade that and then really pull the boss far away. So losing a bit of extra time there across multiple boss fights for Alex. and getting shoved around a bit by the boss, but maintaining decent mace strikes. Forced out of position there, losing one, but does manage to get the stun to finish Lachlan off there nicely.
Wow, really great stuff. And this is going to be the most difficult boss, or the last difficult boss, I should say, for Sarge, as he takes down Lachlan as well with our monk setup. You can see a variety of abilities and spells. He's using Essence Drain, Frost Bomb, there's Contagion, he's swinging those Glacial Cascades. But pretty much at this point, or very soon so, he will be switching to that bell for pretty much the entirety of his single target, which should make things significantly simpler for Sarge. Angormus fighting his Lachlan, significantly behind.
Yeah, let's see how clean his kill is by comparison. He does get that stun now. Continuing with the mace strikes, just trying to keep up that damage as much as possible. And, oh, I love that. Oh, man, his dodge rolls are so good. I always marvel at Angormus' dodge rolls. It's just so nice. Just right under his armpit and then right back into position. Not so good that second time, though, as he does eat that slam. But taking one there is okay. As long as Lachlan doesn't go into a stomp here, he gets a nice fast kill, which he gets that exact, pretty much optimal kill. So a nice one for Lachlan there. Alex Pueblo going for an early Crowbell. Not unusual to see players go for that a bit later on, but he's going in for that fight now. Get those extra skill points under his belt, and if you find it first, then you find it first. You're probably going to go for it.
Yeah, this is something that might also make the run a little bit safer. You do get that extra big power boost. It does allow you to also use those weapon swap points, which might benefit their shield charge. But a pretty simple fight overall for Alex. You really try to min-max this boss's mobility. You don't want to stun him at the wrong time. There's not too much damage. I always see players trying to do damage to him while he's running, but I believe he's got like a 90 or maybe even a 95% damage reduction. So it would really take a lot of effort to take him down before he gets to that final room. But for Alex, he finally gets there, and will he be tanking tactically, or will he be dodging every ability? He does actually dodge everything, so putting a lot of respect on Crowbell's name as he gets the stun on that triple swing. That is one of the more dangerous abilities that this boss has, and takes him down just like that. Really well done by him. As we switch over to Nadine Wins, this is a Polish player who was also playing last week. And he did pretty well, I gotta say. He's been putting in a lot of work too. So looking to beat his last week's time, I believe, of 3 hours and 10 minutes, which we currently are at 26 minutes with our players closing in towards the end of Act 1. And you're really starting to get to those more difficult zones now.
Excellent stuff. We see Alex Pueblo going for the ritual summoning, the dryad summoning there, to get themselves an extra gem. This zone in particular is one that players go for basically everything. They not quite full clear the zone, but do run around the outside and grab all of the extra encounters, as you've got the Crowbell for your extra passives, you've got an extra gem from that little side quest there that Alex Pueblo did, and you've got the entrance to the Ogum Farmlands, of course, and also Freythorn, and players will be doing Freythorn as well, as those spirit gems can be quite a big advantage, especially later on, with things like Wind Dancer proving instrumental to players' safe runs through Act 3. And we're seeing Angormus go into the Ogum Farmlands here. And usually players will go into Ogum Farmlands first if they find the entrance, clear up to the next waypoint, and then come back and finish off the hunting grounds and any things they have left to do there, like the Crowbell kill after the fact. So there's a bit of flexibility in the strategies here, depending on kind of what order things come up.
Yeah, and a cheeky layout here. I gotta say, a lot of players getting stuck on the left side, as Angormus may be experiencing a little bit of lag there, thinking about possibly going back to the checkpoint. But no, goes through. And this is also another important zone where, as you're watching on Angormus' screen, he can get the loot that allows him to get another 2 extra passive points. Pretty cool strategy here, too, that a lot of players always talk to the hooded one and have to wait for that animation to get those 2 skill points. But Angormus skips that entirely, and he will not be experiencing that here to save those precious seconds to get those 2 skill points as soon as possible in the next opportunity that gets to town. And you can see on Alex's screen right now, yeah, that layout is messed up. If you're one of those players that goes to the right side immediately, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. because the layouts, again, friendly reminder, is the layouts are the same for everybody. But obviously, a lot of these players have been testing layouts, and they go for the more likely layout most of the time, which in this case apparently is going to the left. So a lot of our players making the exact same mistake of going to the left
Yes.
and knowing that that is not the optimal strategy to go for in this one.
It's interesting when you see consistent mistakes like that across the board because of that kind of practice and an unexpected kind of hiccup. We had the same thing last week with like a weird elbow zone in the first area. Everyone kind of went to the right and it was just like, huh? It was like the strangest layout I've ever seen, just like randomly comes up in the fixed seed for everyone. The fixed seed actually affects a lot of things that I didn't know about, even down to which monster packs will be champions at checkpoint resets, which the players do farm later on, both in the Mordoon mines and at the end of Act 2 in the final zones there as well. So like the nature of the monsters that can roll as champions there is based on the seed. So everyone will have the same monster packs there, more or less. So that's rather interesting to see how, like, just what's actually affected by that. That was something all the races realized kind of like after the race. It's like, oh, we all had the same one there. So it's pretty interesting to see like how all that comes together. But it's also that's just something that's very cool about this compared to regular speedrunning is it's such a level playing field for people because so much of those things are the same. So it really comes down to practice. And this is actually something I've been really excited to mention as well. Is like a big commentary about Path of Exile 2 and concern for racing was that like it would just be a bit too RNG with the loot, right? Without potentially strong early game crafting options. Are you at the mercy of just what drops? And certainly it makes a difference. But from talking to Angormus, he's actually saying that it's been super consistent for him in practice. He's consistently getting like the same times across the board. And the difference of like getting a really good weapon or not getting a really good weapon is actually pretty minor in the end of Act 3. So, you know, it can be a bit of an advantage, but it comes down to mostly like that skill, those zone reads, how you engage, and whether you have any like big mistakes. And he with the ability to like fish the vendors for the items that you need and having a good plan for how to deal with like not getting those items at certain times and getting them, and also a good strategy for how and when you gain XP so that you'll be the right level to fish vendors. You can really level out that RNG. So that was a really pleasant surprise to like hear and see that in action as the players get their strategies more refined.
Yeah, that is incredibly impressive. But that is a huge change because, in PoE 1, you were very much at the mercy. I mean, going back to the layout thing they were talking about, or the fixed seed thing, because in PoE 1, that was a huge amount of RNG that made a pretty big difference. But if this is the case here, that's a huge improvement, I think, overall for PoE. And what's also, I think, worth mentioning, because we switched over to Guy for a little bit, and you guys could see that there was a slightly different aspect ratio, but that's just a difference on his stream, because a big change from last week's race is that we are no longer using ultra wide mode. So these guys are going to have to, the times were improving overall, and everybody was practicing on this new aspect ratio. So I think that goes to show that, I think Angormus is correct. It is a skill diff, and if you're struggling with being consistent, maybe it's not up to RNG, but just putting in a little bit more effort here.
Yeah, so to clarify, a ruling is coming into effect, and actually like a actual patch to the game that means that these race events are forced into 16:9. So everyone's on a level playing field there because the widescreen is an advantage. You can see more of the zone. Alex Purplord having to do a little bit of an unplanned checkpoint reset there, but actually not too bad. You're kind of able to just do a little bit more farming, get a little bit more XP, and have another reattempt at that ritual altar. But still having a difficult time with this pack there at the ritual altar, trying to get things sorted out. He does end up going back to town for a well and to visit the vendor to get some upgrades here, really realizing that, hey, I don't have that flask sorted. I need to get that sorted now. And that's unfortunately maybe a little bit of a misplay from Alex that he didn't get that sorted out earlier, because that's usually a part of the very specifically planned strategy that they will fish for greater life flasks at the hunting grounds, but maybe didn't quite get that sorted by the time you moved into Freythorn, which is really when you want it. This zone is dangerous, and you want that greater life flask sorted out there. So getting level 10 at the right point and having that planned out is a big deal. And we can see Angormus already has his flask, and he's moving through Freythorn pretty comfortably at this point. So the two players have equalized, despite some of the early lead that Alex Playborn had.
Yeah, and it's not just Alex and Angormus being close to each other. Nadine is doing really well. Lundberger is not too far behind. We have a lot of other players on the ladder, pumping out a lot more levels and maybe neglecting their progression a little bit more just to be ready for this Freythorn zone. As Ziggy has mentioned, it is very difficult, and most of the time it is because of those pesky rituals rather than the actual boss of the zone itself. You just get overrun, and you really have to be ready with both your life flask and the rest of your gear. And you can see it on Nadine's stream that yeah, he's rolling around a lot. He's really trying to space out those mobs, and it's going to be especially difficult on a sorceress and a witch, characters that use essence drain with that delayed source of damage. It just makes it so much more complex to really not die and feed here and cost yourself that one extra minute.
That's the nice thing for the Warriors here in these early zones, is that they are stronger the more enemies there are with those Bone Shatter procs. You know, each extra enemy is one extra enemy that can be stunned, and that can cause an explosion off of Bone Shatter, which Bone Shatter
movement speed boots for Dexter. And rarity
nice
too.
Yes. Is he able to get them there? He doesn't get them.
The disappointment on his face, you can see on his cat face. He's really crying about that. He's gonna have to leave.
Very expressive. Yeah, did he not have enough money there or something in the end?
I think so.
Not ideal. I don't know if he's going to try and come back for them before the vendor resets. That would obviously cost you a bit of time. But move speed boots are certainly a nice thing to have, both for the speed, obviously, but the safety as well, being able to reposition stuff a bit better.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important to have just perfect micromanagement of your inventory at these early stages, just so you can always afford these things. You will be able to pick them up a little bit later, but for right now, he has to take that time loss as we're watching Angormus fight the King in the Mist. And this is really where you can see that HP truly is a resource, because he's standing in a lot of puddles, things that most players would avoid. Don't stand in fire, don't stand in burning boiling blood. But Angormus knows exactly how to position himself, and even goes for a little bit of inventory management during the transition phase.
Yeah,
that's the level of min-maxing that we like to see. That is just so efficient, because yeah, a lot of players, like we were talking about, were struggling a lot with their inventory management, maybe spending a little bit too much time in town, and Angormus messes up. He moves a little bit too much in a phase where he should have been standing still, trying to dodge that big purple ball. Doesn't want to risk getting one shot by a crit, but now there we go. He dodges it again. It's pretty much just about the only attack that he seems to be respecting for this boss. So nicely done, nicely dodged.
Yeah,
not a lot of loot.
Ball is like just a cute little strategy there. Does eat the freeze, the red freeze ability right after the boss's death. I'm surprised the boss can even do it after they've already died. You see, does get a nice physical damage 200 mace there. Upgrades, so next tier of mace, locked and loaded and ready to go. Very nice stuff for them there. And we apparently have a player who's actually 2 zones ahead in the Ogham Manor already, and they've just been added to the list as they are actually streaming. They are mostly works, I believe, so we might be able to get them in on the screen here in a moment and find out who this is and what they're doing. Is this a name that you know, Rise? Mostly works.
I believe I've seen them last week. It definitely rings a bell, so they must have been somewhere around the top, but I'll have to check back. But yeah,
I don't believe they scored a win last week, because they're not on my list of the top places. So potentially a bit of a newcomer here. Nice to see. And it looks like we're seeing some, what do we got here? We got, what even is this?
Essence Drain Unleash. I see Essence Drain. I see Unleash Contagion.
I believe that weird clothing.
Wait, what were you thinking?
I was like, are they a mercenary for a second? I was like, so the weird clothing.
No.
Apparently as well, yes.
Wait, a Sorc or a witch? Hold up.
Yeah, in the background, our team's telling us that they're a Sorc. I need to get that ladder up now.
Hold up. They must have been. I mean, I see a lot of damage coming out. Maybe they have access to a really nice weapon here. I mean, I see the 2-hand there. I don't think that works for me. Yeah. The two-hander seems to be delivering a lot of pain to these enemies because this is a very difficult zone. This is a tricky zone for. Speaking of tricky.
Goes for a pause, considers the logout, decides, no, looking at the mods on screen, I can actually come back from that. And does manage to slip away from that rare monster there. The Ogre are obviously a very dangerous zone. Most players know that, and pushing into it underleveled with low resistances can be a bit of a concern. Oh, no! Oh, goes so low. Definitely going to have to take the reset at checkpoint for that one.
Yep.
And it does do the quick pause afterwards as well to avoid the death during that little delay while the load screen comes up, which is actually a nice little tactic there.
Well, they didn't die. Let's go.
They brought the pause screen up just after the load screen kind of like, hold on, waiting for load screen thing came up to be able to pause the screen without having to do like a logout, which I've seen other players do to avoid that issue. There's a little bit of delay before load screens come up, depending on your servers, and that sometimes can mean a logout is preferable, but pausing like that actually avoids that. From the looks of things, actually, that's a very good point. They don't have any spirit, so I think what we're seeing here is an advantage in progression gained for skipping Phrathorn, which is obviously a huge zone. It costs 5 minutes, and this like 5-minute lead in zone progression here may well be due to that. But we are seeing, conversely, a pretty difficult progression through Ogre Manor, more so than usual. So we'll see whether that advantage is able to be maintained moving forwards, but it's cool to see someone just kind of like break ahead of the pack like this in an unexpected fashion. Meanwhile, Angormus moving into the Executioner kill with some nice positioning against the Slam here, taking the opportunity to get an extra Bone Shatters proc on any adds that come up next to the Executioner. You can get really fast kills like that. Yeah, nice 3 hits off those ones. Going for another one. A big finish there with the adds for a very clean kill. Gets an Artificer's Orb and an Exalted Orb off of that kill. That's beautiful. The Artificer's Orb especially
mostly works.
Yeah, that's really good.
No flasks. No flasks for mostly works. Desperately trying to get to the next checkpoint. There we go. Finally gets that recovery. And I gotta say, Ziggy, as much as we're talking about skipping certain parts of the game, mostly works is currently number 1 on the ladder too. So it's not just them really dashing forward and skipping content. They are killing monsters, and it is a very different approach because I've seen a lot of people when they were talking about Sorceress, talking about minions and how Sorceress just doesn't do damage and all these sort of things. Yeah, no spirit, mostly works, stay alive. No spirit here, no scepter, going for that two-handed approach with what I'm presuming is just an incredible weapon. Unfortunately, we can't quite check it, but it's super effective as they're already at the boss of Act 1. 42 minutes in.
We're going to see one of the fastest, potentially, if all goes well, Count Ogham kills here from Mostly Works. So I'm going to be very interested to see just how this one plays out. Moving into, once again, one of my all-time favorite bosses of action RPGs. My all-time favorite boss. Some last-minute gem sorting. Picks up Concentrated Effect for some nice extra damage. And dealing with the adds here. And we saw some pretty clean kills from this kind of skill package last week, as it's a pretty safe skill setup. You get some nice chills and freezes and nice consistent maintained damage where you can deal with and move around most of the enemy's attacks pretty comfortably. Let's have a look what we got here, Raz.
I was hoping they're going to show their weapon, but not quite there. Count Geonor has spawned, and he's taking a lot of damage. The Spell Cascade Frostbomb positioning is just so impeccable here for Mostly Works. Goes for the charge on the boss, and wow, this guy's been practicing a lot. He actually rolls forward as opposed to what most of our players were doing last time, where they would be running away from the boss to not get cleaved. But Mostly Works knows exactly what they're doing. There we go. Has to go backwards here, and this is the usual strategy the players are going to be going for. He knows that all he needs to do now is dodge, as we have the dialogue going on with some very questionable language from Count Geonor.
Absolutely, yes. We do get the anime villain monologue from Count Geonor here before he phases. Something you do have to wait for, and it's an opportunity to just manage your gear if you need to, but Mostly Works is already sorted. And like you said, just beautiful.
Oh no!
Frostbomb. What happened
Instant ad phase!
Ooh, that's very unlucky.
What you
Straight
see.
into the mist. Yeah. Yeah, there is a little bit of a randomness to whether you get this fog phase right away. Of course, if you're not killing the boss fast enough, you're going to get one or two of them, but it can actually be avoided. And right into the ad phase here is not exactly what you want.
Yeah, they're min-maxing the essence drain cast. Really nicely done. You can see it chaining. It does refresh now when it chains to another
Ooh,
target. So
beautiful
just
Frostbomb
keeps going.
cascade there.
Yeah,
I
I
love the
got it. I am
pre-placing.
so impressed with this. Also, when the dialogue was happening earlier, that Frostbomb was just perfect. We'll be seeing another ad phase here. Mostly works.
He's got
Doesn't
him
want to get
frozen.
the. Yeah, he doesn't want to go for the freeze here quite yet. 20% shock. The boss goes for that big slam, easily dodged.
Oh,
This might actually happen. Only one ad phase. I
yeah, if you
like
can
what
get
I'm
him
seeing
during this
here.
phase here, during this cycle, he's 55% of the way towards a freeze. Oh, it's going to be tricky whether you can get another one before he goes into an ad phase. The boss, the big hit there off the cascade right at the end does secure the kill for him as it locks that freeze down, preventing another ad phase and securing the fight for Mercy Works as he moves into and gets ready to go to Act 2. Of course, at this point, if he skipped Candlemass, he will go back for that now while the loot is dropping. And unusual that he's going up the elevator like that. I don't quite know.
Yeah.
He's going for the checkpoint back that way. Yeah, there we go. Into the Candlemass fight now to pick up the extra HP. This is a strategy we've seen players execute last week where they want to get that Candlemass kill while the dialogue's happening. You know, you're not just going to stand there for the lore. Angormus going very low in the Ogre Manor, just there eating a whole bunch of projectiles from the Blood Witches. Picks up an extra augmentation as they scoot through, though, and manages to survive. And Mostly Work moves on with their Candlemass kill now. And then after that Candlemass kill, we'll go back for the loot for the boss and move on to the next act.
Yeah, I gotta say the sorceress run has been just so impressive so far. Angormus may be dropping low because he's sweating a little bit. You know, I don't think he was anticipating this sort of pressure from a
Love it.
sorceress at this early stage of the game. Because really, I mean, if you can get a decent Act 1 with a sorceress, the rest isn't that far off. I mean, it is more risky because you will be very heavily reliant on the essence drain, and eventually you don't have that sort of damage boost that you get with a witch. What is happening with Mostly Works right now? They are turbo lost.
Huh? I
What
think
am I
they can't
seeing?
find their checkpoint to get back. They're not sure which checkpoint. I think
They
they didn't
don't know where
realize
the
which
boss
checkpoint it
is.
was. There it is. There it is. Finds it after 3 or 4 checkpoints. Gets a little bit lost. Wasn't sure which was the one that they came from. Can be a little bit confusing because of the way the minimap works there, where the boss zone is kind of like a separate area off to the side. So the checkpoint was, I'm not quite sure where that is. A little hard to recognize just from the map there. But yeah, that's something I guess you have to kind of think about ahead of time and take special note of. It's like when you leave your car in the car park and you're like, all right, we're in A2 green on the 3rd floor. Is that you gotta take a picture of it before you go. Unfortunately, Master Works having a hard time finding their car there.
Interesting. Maybe he
Meantime,
wasn't quite anticipating being first. I mean, this does tend to happen that you're having a really good run and you're thinking that you're doing pretty well, and then you see your name highlighted as being the first person to get through Act 1 as Angormus only now begins his fight.
Rise,
Uh,
I'm so excited. Angormus just swapped into bossing boots. Yes. It's my favorite strategy of his. You get a pair of move speed boots, which are usually garbage, and you have another pair of boots that you get that got life and resist, and you swap them for bossing. I love the bossing boots. And
that
we see a
bossing
nice opening
boots.
perfect strike there for Angormus. Of course, now the Warriors are able to take advantage of perfect strike, and I just love the perfect strike play because it's so skill based and it has very timings that they can really plan for and practice for. So they'll be looking for specific audio cues on the bosses as to when they start their perfect strike, so they can get the exact microsecond that the boss fight moves into being damageable, the perfect strike goes right off. So we see that kind of a nice opening there, but Angormus having taking a nice big hit there as he waits for the second
Oof.
phase, costing an extra life flask, but I doubt that's going to be too big an issue for him here. And you see that he times that. Oh, he misses. He misses. The timing was good, but he missed. Oh, no, he misses again and eats a cleave. Angormus, having a devastating second phase here against Janor. does manage to collect himself, take a deep breath, and secure a couple perfect strikes into a stun, and that'll finish it off for him. But definitely rattled a little bit, a bit shook from that early part of the boss there. Oh, my heart was racing.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, this might be what I was talking about. I mean, in the history of PoE, there were always players who were very comfortable being first and very uncomfortable being first when it came to racing. Most players, honestly, always preferred to be second. They don't feel comfortable. They only need to be first at the end of the race, and being first early on
Drafting,
tends
yes.
to kind of throw them off. And I think we might be seeing the opposite here for Angormus, because yeah, he's taking down the boss, but it wasn't nearly as clean as we were expecting, with him having that really consistent lead in the very first race. Gets a nice hybrid IPD craft there. It's probably not going to make as much of a difference, and yeah, Angormus doesn't make the same mistake. They get the boss checkpoint immediately.
Swaps back into his running boots, out of his bossing boots, goes back for the boss loot, and is now able to head back to Clearfell to move into the next act to try and catch up to Mostly Works, who's now pushing forwards through their Wrathbreaker kill, a boss fight that can be very, very scary. But there has been some new tech discovered for Wrathbreaker that I'm not sure all of the players know about yet. On interviewing different players, I have heard some kind of mumblings that there is something that can be taken advantage of, where you can draw Wrathbreaker outside of their arena, forcing them to kind of reset Leash effectively, as it's a boss that strangely has that sort of a mechanic where they want to stay in their arena. But if you do a reset at checkpoint at that moment, it apparently stops them from doing all of their different abilities. So they just do default attacks and can and can be safely killed even on the characters that have a bit more difficulty with that. Like, for example, what Mostly Works is playing, anything non-warrior basically. So it'll be interesting to see if we see a little bit of stinky cheese on Wrathbreaker or not. But
guys, I don't know if
all the players know about this.
I don't know if you want to be doing this on the official Path of Exile stream. This might be
definitely a little bit iffy potentially, but the racers will find whatever they can to take advantage of. All these little nuances, ways to skip the lore dialogue, ways to kind of just make the game be like, huh, what are you doing? And then get a little bit confused from time to time. It's just like, look, it's just like stunning, okay? They just stun the game client in this case.
Right.
So, that's perfectly legitimate.
Yeah, so clever use of game mechanics for sure.
Yeah, right. We'll see if we get to see any of that action here, or if indeed players know about this yet. But certainly, if it is a thing, more players might be taking advantage of it next week. Of course, it does cost a little bit of time to set something like that up. So if you can confidently kill Wrathbreaker without doing something like that, that may be preferable. But here we see Mostly Works moving into the Wrathbreaker fight, taking down these ads. Looks like maybe going for a conventional assault here as they move up to the point on the cliff. If you can stay in this just very tippy top of the mountain here, you will be able to avoid all of the attacks from the ads sitting up on the cliffs. And Mostly Works going for a conventional kill here from the looks of things, with a little bit of Frostbolt Cold Snap action. Not Cold Snap. Oh, what is it called? the click that pops them. I just played this class recently, but
the click that pops them. Oh, that's speaking of being popped.
A slam. Maybe going for the exploit would have been the play, but we do see an unfortunate kill there for Mostly Works, where he does eat that slam with a bunch of ads around him and is forced to stand still for a whole minute.
I gotta say, we didn't see the early stages of Mostly Works' playthrough, but just the amount of time that they spend on that checkpoint, and then right before this boss, they're really getting ready. There was a lot of gem swapping, things that you really want to be doing on the move. So I don't know if this is a matter of maybe like skipping all those things earlier, catching up with them, or if this is maybe a little bit of a lack of preparation. I would really love to see how things were looking early as Angormus begins his fight and goes for the manly perfect strike, finishes it, but takes a huge amount of damage. But HP is a resource. It doesn't matter how much over you lose. As long as it's above 0, you're gaming. No exploits for Angormus. Gets the boss down. Really well played and very manly indeed.
We've got a lot of action on screen right now as Angormus secures his kill. We've got Mostly Works taken on Wrathbreaker, Alex Bloodlord halfway through second phase, Geonor and Sarge 2 on a Monk, just about to move into the second phase here. Getting Geonor low with just the extreme damage of the Bells. We're seeing that single target come down now for the Bells. Alex Bloodlord eats a slam. I'm going to try and cast all of these boss fights at once. Mostly Works moving into another Wrathbreaker attempt after suffering their earlier defeat. Sarge 2 waiting for that second phase to come up. Tries to type something in chat, needs a big cleave for it.
Types
Alex
ladder.
Bloodlord is forced to cancel out of a perfect strike there as they're about to get nuked by that orbital bombardment. Does reposition for the breath and can't secure the kill as the boss goes into another one of the meteor strikes, but does manage to get the perfect strike off to finish the kill there as well. And Sarge 2's second phase was instant. While I was watching Alex, Sarge's second phase began and ended at the exact same time. Like it began like a minute later and ended at the same time. So we're seeing absolutely huge bell damage from the Monk there. And we did see last week some like insane bossing damage with the multiple bell placements, but the Monk players were just really struggling with lack of refinement and being quite glass cannon. And as a result, it was a tough run for them. But maybe Sarge 2's got the refinement now and can take advantage of that damage. And we might see some fast monking here. But Mostly Works just struggling to get that Wrathbreaker kill. I think we're just going to see them dropping further and further behind. And that's unfortunate after that really strong early lead they had. Of course, it came at the cost of skipping Freythorn. And it's a strategy. And I don't know if it's going to pay off for them because, you know, that now that Angormus has overtaken them, but they've done Freythorn. They have that spirit. They have the ability to use those spirit skills later on, and they can use that that spirit skill in Act 3. That makes things just so much safer.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense because you wouldn't really use Wind Dancer, and with a Sorceress, I don't believe that you get the minion damage, you get spell damage, I think, which means that technically something like SRS isn't as effective. But I mean, how are you going to keep out with your output here? Because the whole thing relies, at least when it comes to being a witch, on getting your ascendancy. But a Sorceress doesn't really have an ascendancy that benefits all that much. We might be seeing maybe a skill swap. I mean, there's clearly a plan here, so I really can't wait to see how this ends up. I mean, I gotta say, refreshing the ladder was pretty interesting because currently, for the top 6 players, 4 of them are Sorcs. So
wild. Yeah, we're seeing an actual like early game lead, at least in XPing for the Sorcs here, which is super interesting to see. Angormus going a bit low on a badly placed pack of monsters here, but using that Bone Shatter, staying calm under pressure, and getting that big explosion off as they move through the Mordoon Quarry. Alex Bloodlord moving into some perfect strike, Wrathbreaker action, gets a very nice first hit, followed up immediately by a second, and the third one looked like a bit of a whiff there, but Wrathbreaker is stunned and forced behind the mob pack, so Alex Bloodlord can't keep the damage up. They do try to get the Bone Shatter proc, but the boss is mispositioned, so a little bit of a slow and forced out of a perfect strike there for the slam. A nicely, perfectly positioned perfect strike and a finish there. So quite optimal, good start, a little bit of a shaky middle, and then a solid finish. Alex Bloodlord on that boss.
And just a one sad blue pair of boots for Alex as his reward.
The loot.
He waits for the loot in such anticipation. It takes so much time for it to drop, and then it's just say he doesn't. I don't think he even ID'd it. Did he?
No, he did ID it. Okay.
Boots.
Okay. Yes, no, unfortunately. You never know. Could be those 15% movement speed boots at that point. So that's ideal. We do see Alex learning from earlier mistakes and picking up that flask ahead of time. So he has his next flask locked and loaded and ready to go. And some of you may have noticed that the racers will sometimes take their chest armor off. And that is because chest armor has a hidden move speed penalty, which is a bit higher for the armor-based types, especially. So just as a quick optimization, whenever they're running around and not in any particular danger, they will take off their chest armor, sometimes even leaving it on their cursor while they run around with WASD. This is a way to speed things up just a little tiny bit.
So much more comfortable than it is in PoE 1. In PoE 1, you have to bind your movement ability and then use that button while holding it. Here you can just WASD your way through, and pretty comfortable stuff, something that you can definitely optimize your play with very little effort, as we're now seeing Sarge try to get to the next boss. He's in those outskirts, utilizing the bell. I really can't wait to see what sort of single target
Oh yeah.
we're going to be getting here. I mean, we were talking a little bit about the monk before, but I think something important to mention too is when it comes to the monk, there is a little bit more RNG because we saw quite a lot of struggles with mana last week. So there are most definitely breakpoints where you just either have enough mana to finish an encounter or you don't. And so for the monk, I've been seeing huge variance in the sort of times that they're getting. But Sarge seems to be in the lead for our monk players. And without further stalling, we finally are at the boss. He charges away. Sarge
Oh,
doesn't.
the boss not cooperating and running all the way down to the bottom of the hill, which is is he going for the strategy? No, I think he's just a little bit upset that the boss has positioned himself in such a manner. Because he does manage to get him to charge back up to where he wants him at the top of that hill. That is where you want him. You don't have to be dealing with all of those abilities. He gets the bells down, but he's kind of like forced away from them. All 3 bells down now. Big damage time. Oh, the bells were just like a little bit too early, so he didn't quite get the 1 cycle kill on the bell placements there. As a few little upsets, but still a very fast kill in the end. Off of that bell damage, you just see the triple bells, and we saw it last week. It was so much damage, but it costs a lot of mana. And it's difficult to time, and if you get stunned or knocked away, or you mistime it, or the boss gets stunned and knocked away, there's all these things that can go wrong that ruin this strategy. So it takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to be able to pull off properly, consistently. And that was pretty clean, but I think we're going to see a lot more refined play here from Sarge this week than what we saw from some of the monks last time.
Yeah, we're already at the 1 hour mark, and I think across the board our players are doing significantly better. Maybe not something that Angormus is as comfortable with because we're in Act 2 now, and there's still a lot of players very close to him. When it comes to the ladder, there's many players surrounding him. He is not even currently first in terms of XP. Actually, right now he is, but every time I refresh, he's somewhere in the top 5. But there are a lot of players who are absolutely keeping up with his run. So it's very cool to see because there are a lot of different classes. Well, primarily it's warriors, witches, and sorceress, with Sarge being currently 10th on our monk, and the whole new society, somebody who you might remember from last week, is now on a mercenary, and they are 11th. We also have a much better time from Ranger Donkatsu at rank 13 is our number 1 Ranger here. So pretty
we'll
good
take a look
stuff.
at them later as well, actually, because they're streaming on YouTube. So we'll bring them up separately a little bit later in the race to check in on them, because I'm very interested in Donkatsu's Ranger gameplay and excited to tell you about them. But in the meantime, I just wanted to mention that Angormus, you may have seen, was resetting that checkpoint and farming that champion pack there. It's just a little optimization that he's made this week to improve that XP. Go for level 18 here in the Mordoon Mines off of farming that champ pack. And it only takes a few resets and kills, so it happened pretty quickly. But just that, it's just like a quick extra level just to catch up to that exact level that he wants. And we did see that action there as he now continues to explore the zone. He's forced a checkpoint to find the correct route and moving on this way. I can't yet. Wonder what that's about. Is that the line from the character? Okay, that's the. I thought he might have typed that for a second. I think it's just the voice line from the character. I don't know where he was pointing at it. I was like, he's on cooldown or something then. Okay, fair enough.
You have to become one with your character.
Yeah, that's right.
He thinks it, the character says it.
Yeah, that's right. He's speaking through his warrior. I wanted to give you a bit of a background report. So last week we saw that exact simultaneous down to the second finish between Guy That Dies and Xiaoge. I'm pleased to say that the race is very close again for them, with Xiaoge currently being 3rd on the ladder for XP, just behind Guy That Dies, and apparently maybe a little bit ahead in terms of progression. Maybe it's a bit hard to tell.
What? Angormus is dead. Super dead. He ate the entire flamethrower.
Oh no! We only saw 1 death from Angormus last week with a very unusual situation, but now eating a kind of a classic misplay death there, and getting destroyed by that entire flamethrower. Does a little bit of last minute crafting. He didn't swap into his bossing boots. If he had put his, he doesn't have any bossing boots. That's why he died. No bossing boots. Or
No
maybe
bossing
the fact
boots.
that he ate the whole flamethrower. Look, we all make mistakes. I'm sure he can come back from that one. And
I don't think Angormus makes mistakes like these. I mean, this is so unusual. We were talking about how they were just having this perfect run, and then the entire flamethrower. This is really not a boss that you want to be dying on. Ruja is somewhat of a noob killer, but when you're a pro, you're not going to be falling to a boss like
he's
this one.
Noob. He's no noob. We do
He is
see
no noob indeed.
Yeah, we do see the Frostbolt Cold Snap skill shot combos for mostly work. I'm pretty happy to see that actually, because I don't know that we saw that last week, or I may have missed it. But it's able to do a bit of damage, not quite as impressive. No. But any little advantage that you can get here on those classes that don't have that mega burst damage is helpful. Angormus goes into the second kind of phase of Ruja here for a boss that kind of doesn't really have phases. Gets the knockdown and tries the perfect strike, but misses while eating all of that burning ground damage, and is kind of forced to back up here as she moves into a melee grenade phase, and just going for those timed dodge rolls, as you can see, just confidently avoiding the the melee attack. Does kind of eat the explosion at the end there, which does hit Ruja as well, and finishes her off with one missed perfect strike, and then one more to finish it off. Meanwhile, now we have
a clip.
Oh, is this a clip? Oh, this is the death. Oh, yeah, he's just there in the middle of channeling a perfect strike and absolutely melted. Yep. Just right to the chest, that flamethrower.
That was nasty. Ziggy, you might have to go for a little bit of a refresh there, as you were pretty significantly behind, I think, compared to me. So we might as well all go for a refresh. Why not? Let's sync this up. Just
do a courtesy flush on the stream here. There we go.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, get it back in.
Nothing's worse than that ladder showing that we had before. You guys got a big flashbang. At least this time around, it's much cleaner. Same for Angormus's kill.
These are our early access beta race casts, and we definitely had it was a little bit of a mess last week with some visibility issues and stuff. I'm happy to see how much improved things are this week, and I hope you folks enjoy the cast and watching some top tier Path of Exile 2 gameplayers. The races refine, we refine, the stream refines.
You're never going to see top tier casting, okay? There's always going to be scuff here. The players might be refined, but the casting won't be, guys. You can't chop the garlic perfectly. It's going to be like this sometimes.
Yeah, it's artisanal. It's a little bit rough around the edges. That's part of the charm.
Artisanal is one way to call it. Nice.
Yes.
As we switch over also to Fifus in the bottom right, who is currently on a Ranger, I believe.
Ranger, yeah. Fifus is one of our other Ranger contenders, probably one of the main Ranger contenders, alongside of the kind of new Korean player that's come into play that we might be able to see a little bit later on as well. But Fifus is looking very strong on the Ranger, and looking at their kind of streams side by side as well, I can see that they're at the exact same point in the Modern Quarry as well. So I have been kind of checking in with Fifus a little bit every now and then to see how their Ranger practice has been going. And, their finish last week was a pretty humble 3.5 hours, but it has substantially improved quite a bit then, with times from Don Katsu, our Korean player, and Fifus of 2 hours and 50 minutes, substantially faster. So we'll see if they can improve even more on that. And who amongst the Rangers can reign supreme. And we also have Kat's kind of a wild card thrown in the mix here, or Sayong, a Korean player who's streaming on YouTube that had managed to get a time of 2 hours and 46 minutes on Ranger as well. So they are very fast. Oh, Nathan, was it a death? It was. Brutal. Like going onto the elevator or something there? I kind of missed what happened.
He's been really going back to the checkpoint quite a while, and eventually it resulted in a death. No matter what, this zone just seems to have his number, and he's gonna have to eat that 1 minute penalty for sure. Oh, Fifus also dying.
Goes down there. Well, this is actually a perfect opportunity then to bring our Korean streamer Cats / Sayong up on stream, just in the bottom right for a bit there if we can, and we can have a little bit of a look at how they're going. on the Ranger as well. So they're a little bit behind in terms of progression compared to where Fifus was at, but that death is going to allow them to catch up now as they move through on their Ranger, and they look so fast rolling around and using those using those lightning arrows there. And from what I've heard, the setup is to kind of go for mostly, I think it was the gas arrow later on, and then just use the lightning arrows for the shocks long term, Stormcoil arrow. So just for that extra damage, but early game here, it looks like it's a lot more about that lightning. And so they don't speak English, I believe. I used Google Translate to interview them a little bit yesterday. And when I asked kind of like if they were going for a demis today and how their practice was going, they said via Google Translate text to speech, they said, "I have to try fighting." So I think there's some real spirit there. I think they're keen. I think they're feeling really on point.
I can't tell when it comes to the Koreans. Is that spirit, or is that just like the average reaction to just about everything you ever say to them? They're always like fighting every time, and I gotta say, I love it. I mean, this approach in general across the Korean community is just so nice, so beautiful, so refreshing. You know, the positivity is really out there.
Yeah, we're seeing neck and neck gameplay between Fifus and Sayong, aka Cats. I'll go with Cats. This is the handle on their speedrunning profile, I think it was. And yeah, it's looking pretty close between them in terms of progression as well. I'm trying to see if any of them has like a major advantage that I can notice. A lot more HP for Cats, it looks like, so a little bit better gear, making Fifus feel a bit squishy with that. Only 280 hit points is so low. That's like no life on gear at all levels right there. So Fifus is pure glass cannon mode right now. I mean, he's not wearing that chest right now. Trying to get that extra move speed through here. But, you know, as long as he's feeling confident. I mean, he did have a death in here not long ago, though. So maybe not the correct decision inside of that.
Yeah, apparently Cats has a medium life flask. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're never getting hit, you don't need a life flask.
It's true. Big brain strategies here. We have the Ruja kill coming up for Cats now as well. So let's kind of see how that single target's looking there. It's like a sustained...
Where did... Hold up.
It's the melee strike. It doesn't matter what your flask is if you get one shot. Oh no!
I'm surprised because generally the way that people do this is that they roll forward. Then in that sense, you don't have like that window where you can get hit. But he actually was rolling backwards, and another boss that really shouldn't be killing people kills another top contender. So pretty surprising stuff here. Cats choking a little bit, but I mean it does. Make it more even, right? Because Fifus had that earlier rip also in the similar zone.
All right, we'll rotate them out of the stream now and check in on some of the others, and we'll check back in with Cats, our Korean player, in the future as I look forward to tracking their progress, and hopefully they can have a nice comeback from that one as well.
Nice,
or if you want to,
they die and you switch them out. Very nice.
I mean, absolutely merciless. We only want to see the top tier players here, not the people sitting there suffering. I mean, we did have a lot of zoom ins on the people suffering last week. It's kind of like some sort of
that was that. Listen, that was production, and I can't tell if it was an accident or on purpose. As we're now watching mostly works. Fighting Jamanra, getting through that ad phase, and really finishing this fight up.
Positioning in the corner there just to force the ads to group up for the frost bombs.
Yeah,
so nice little tech. Yeah, just to make that a little bit more comfortable for the finish there. Angormus gets the kill, quote unquote. Kind of just telling Yaman-Ra that he's not messing around.
But Ziggy, remember when we were discussing earlier how, you know, the Sorc strategy, it's not gonna last. You know, they've skipped too much. This is gonna catch up with them. They're still ahead. Angormus is behind.
I'm happy to be proven wrong. I am very concerned about Act 3 for them, but this is what I love about racing. You know, I don't know. The strategy might work out way better than I expect. You know, that's what it comes down to. They've practiced, they've figured out what they think is the optimal play here, and I want to see it work out for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is what is happening right now. We're getting the words that Sarge's weapon is in his inventory.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit stunned by that comment as well. Like, huh? Yeah, our team behind the scenes are making some comments about some strange weapon happenings going on, but it looks like he doesn't have his stats required for his upgrade weapon there. We see a socketed weapon in his inventory, which is, I wasn't sure if it was the one he swapped out of or what he's swapping into, but it looks like it's unequipable currently. So likely a stat issue, as that can be a little bit of a problem potentially. Not so much on the Warrior. They only have to get like 5 Dex and 5 Int in their set, but some of the other classes do have a bit more stat requirements they have to push for.
What's extra funny is that if you were reading the dialogue, apparently Sarge was furiously typing about how he doesn't like the situation that he's in, and his character repeatedly kept saying, I cannot. So, good stuff here, Sarge.
He was mad typing about it. He doesn't have the stuff for an upgrade. I mean,
still doing it.
Does he even need it? Like,
holy moly!
Obliterates the boss. It's like meh, I can't equip my damage upgrade. It's like, mate, you just like one shot the boss. Does it even matter at this point? It's
yeah,
like, well, you want one shot faster?
I was really hyping up this monk single target last week, and I really feel like it didn't show. But this time around, it's here, and it's saving him a lot of time, as this is a class that isn't supposed to be doing nearly as well as it is in a lot of people's eyes, and Sarge is, for the most part, keeping up. Why is FIFA still in this zone, by the way? I remember for Rangers, there was a little bit of discussion here last week. We were talking about how Witch ascends and goes into that demon form. This might be happening here for the Ranger as well, with most likely the thing that they're looking for is the Pathfinder Ascendancy.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing a very optional boss here.
I see the path thing too. They're going for the poison nodes. This is going to be a Pathfinder, I think. We're going to be going for that poison concoction.
Yeah, we did see, and that was the kind of comment, was the poison gas with the lightning for the shocks there, and that looks like that's what they're likely going for. Balbala going into their hiding phase as Fifus goes and finds them quickly, identifying where they are and looking for optimal single target. Realizes, oh, I forgot to put that chest on. This fight's looking a little bit sketchier than I want it to be. So rotates that in, gets a nice shock right as Balbala gets frozen, and and right as my stream starts buffering. And there we go.
It was nice clean,
Ziggy. Target.
I want to say you didn't miss anything, because it was just so clean. And I gotta say, this looks so nice. It looks, is that an Ashrend? No, it's a Fox Shade. Wait a minute, what does Fox Shade do in PoE 2? In PoE 1, that would be a good item.
I'm Googling.
Google furiously. I gotta say, I really like this setup a lot better, though. I did not like the lightning rod and how limiting it was, and how dependent it was on boss movement and all these sort of things. The Orbook Storm is quite trash too. Fox Shade is good. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I remember it being pretty good.
It's good. It's 10% increased movement speed on full life. So actually, just like, even if you don't wear it for boss fights, it could be a swap for just running around. Like, it's your town movement speed boost. Not to mention like some evasion on full life, which is actually pretty good for that running around as well, just avoiding those like occasional initial hits. You know, if you don't get hit in that first boss, your life doesn't go down. Mostly work's going on to the Iktab fight here. The combination, which we saw players struggle with last time. You want to kill them at the same time so that the other one doesn't enrage and become far more difficult, but it can be challenging if they move around a lot. Does manage to get down the Lich first, and then Iktab fight. Having a hard time just kind of like finishing them off here as they're enraged. Hopefully not eating a massive amount of the projectiles now from the perished Necromancer. So far having a pretty good run of it, positioning well, confidently, and gets a pretty clean kill, actually. It looked very comfortable. Nice. Yeah,
that was something that was really sketchy last week, as we watch guy that dies already in the Trail of Secamus. This is a pretty standard strategy for our witches. They do want that demon form for the additional damage boost on their essence drain. It's just something that really allows you to keep up with the sort of damage requirements that you have for Act 3, with how underleveled some of our players are going to be, which again makes it even more interesting as to what Mostly Works is going to do on his sorceress, because there's no demon form available.
Fifus is just absolutely spoiled for choice right now, but he's spending way too long shopping. Right? He's
down his lava,
sorting his stash tab, and I have to say he's got absolutely rolling in the gear right now. He's got the Fox Shade. It did actually have 2 sockets as well. He had 2 15% movement speed boots to choose from. He was like trying to optimize and think about which one is ideal. But his feet are melting off right now.
He double socketed the Fox Shade. I see. Or was it already socketed previously?
I think it was already socketed because the priority is 100% for those weapons, and he's got one Arcanist in his inventory now, which I doubt he would have had more than that at this point, and he was salvaging. But he's having some I don't know, like indecision kind of choice paralysis. You know, he's standing in the toothpaste aisle. And you're like, do I get strip-based whitening or orb-based whitening, or this one's got like little whitening pearls in it? Like, what do I get? The swirly 3-color? Like, he's having a hard time right now. He's got too many options.
And then you find out that it's the same company making all of those toothpaste, and you've been controlled the whole time.
Yeah, and that's the whole psychological thing.
They got you.
They got you. They want you standing there as long as possible. Guy that dies moving through their Trial of Sekhmet, as is Firefus, and we'll see players. The strategy for the Trial of Sekhmet so far has been to prioritize the room types nearly above all else, which is to go for those ritual rooms, which can be very fast, where you just have to kill a few monsters and then you're done. And to go for those escape rooms, if not those, and to avoid those gauntlets at all costs. I don't think we've seen a player have to get a gauntlet yet, but sometimes you kind of get forced into it. Mostly you can deal with some afflictions, but we do see a starting gauntlet for Firefus. That's the one room you can't choose, is that first room, so that can just be a gauntlet sometimes. I don't know if the fixed seed means the same layout for everyone. I was
wondering about that.
Yeah, I don't know if our team behind the scenes can tell us anything about that, whether the fixed seed means same Sekhmet layouts, but that would be great if it is.
Oh, Cats isn't quite there.
His gear is all over the place.
Does he know?
Amazing bows inventory. His helmet is unequipped because of stats. His gearing puzzle is messed up. This is why he's been spending so much time trying to sort it out. He's just kind of put himself into a strange little gearing puzzle here. He just has to take that helmet off and deal with it. It's
and this is really some of the biggest time losses in racing, really. I mean, people always talk about strategy and min-maxing and layout reading and all these things, but inventory management is one of those things that you can never get away from. It's something that you have to learn, and you can see how much time they were spending in town before and now also managing his stuff here. So it makes it furthermore impressive the way that Angormus was messing around with his gear whenever he had any opportunity to do so.
Yeah, knowing exactly what you need, the bare minimums that you need, and exactly when to get them, so that you just like kind of can do the same thing every race. And then if you get something that's a bit unexpected or is a bonus on top of that, being able to organically kind of adapt to that situation, or just even say, hey, I got this unique, it's actually good, but is it worth messing around with it and like screwing up kind of my usual approach? Maybe not. And being able to make those calls is a big deal. So we see Guy That Dies moving into the final boss fight. Rattle Cage here for the end of their Trial of Sekhmet run. Rattle Cage mechanically can be done without basically getting hit whatsoever. They have already taken a bit of honor damage. And honor defeat is not likely for our professional racers here, or is really a death to Rattle Cage. So it's a pretty safe fight. It's just kind of about doing it nice and quickly. And the sustained damage here is, I would say, kind of slow. This is not a fast Rattle Cage kill at this point. I'm having a hard time keeping them on the burning ground, too.
It is tricky because you really don't want the boss to be moving as much as it is, because you want to be min-maxing the amount of damage that these SRSs are putting out. But at the same time, like you mentioned, you really don't want your honor to deplete to an uncomfortable amount. I think the damage isn't going to be an issue, but honor can go down very quickly in this fight if you're standing in just a little bit too much stuff. This fight has been nerfed, but it tends to be a little bit tricky for some of our players here. And I mean, especially when you're using those caustic arrow archers, right? You can see that he is actively using their ability to plant that caustic arrow, which I believe is 200% more damage off of their base attack. But you need to hit the boss with it, and it's a fairly small AoE, potentially with him also using Conk Effect on it. But at the same time, you're trying to put out as many SRS as possible, and sometimes one skill detonates the other at just the wrong time, and it makes for a little bit of a messy fight. So in the end, Guy That Dies becomes a little bit too uncomfortable with circling around that pillar or the bunch of rocks anyway, and moves away.
Yeah, this last section of the fight's much more dangerous as they do that slam that causes those little whirlwinds which lead into the fire, the lava dropping from the ceiling, which can be a little bit dangerous. But I think what we saw is that they have practiced here a strategy that's just ultra safe. It's really slow, but it's ultra safe. Forcing the boss to walk around that midpoint means you're really not getting optimal like poison, cloud, or burning ground damage. But it just means that the boss can do basically nothing to you. I hadn't seen that strategy before, so that's pretty interesting. If you want a really safe kill for your Sekimus runs, that's a good strategy. Just merry-go round them around the middle like that. But we'll see Fifus when they come up to their boss a little bit later on to see kind of, you know, whether they have a different approach, whether they have a more bursty, faster approach, perhaps. But yeah, so definitely a little bit of a slow and steady kill for Guy That Dies. But we now get to see them picking up their ascendancy, which that demon form gameplay gets very quick and very spicy. It was a huge advantage for the witches later on. That was worth the cost of going and doing a whole Sekimus run.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta say, I'm still watching Katz's stream, and he's just been dying on repeat, and it's cost him just a tremendous amount of time. So Fifus has a very comfortable lead at this point. If they can just keep up and not kind of replicate the thing that Katz has been doing for quite a while now, I think Fifus looking very solid here on a Ranger that is ascending, something that we just didn't get to see last week at all.
Yeah, if Katz is going for the ascendancy, which I'm just keeping an eye on now, it looks like they probably are, and then that's going to mean there are a whole Sekimus behind Fifus at this point after those deaths. So upsetting to see, as I was really hoping to see a great run out of Katz today, as they've had some just insane practice runs. But
and this is really the tricky part.
This week.
We talked about it before. It is just so different when you're trying to get your PBs and you're resetting and you're doing all these things to min-max things that you think are important. And you don't realize that when you're racing against other people, it doesn't matter what your fastest time ever is. It matters how consistently you can get through these zones. And yeah, it's just not something that I guess Pats took enough in mind, but something that Fifus was very much aware of. And despite some of the gear struggles that we've been watching, yeah, they're clearing these things really effectively because Angormus is really not that far ahead of just about anybody. I mean, I gotta say, I haven't been checking the ladder for quite a while.
I'm just checking that. He's level 22, one level ahead of the bulk of the pack, which is at 21 and 20. And it looks like probably, I wouldn't even say ahead on progression. Asmodeus' stream right now in the bottom right is at the exact same point, fighting Ekbab and Iktab, and we have seen some Iktab fights for there, but of course, this act has a lot of different directions you can go and orders that you can take things in, so that may be a little bit mixed. We're seeing some pretty nice killing for Angormus here with just an amazing perfect strike that hits both of the bosses with the same attack. Wow. That was peak Warrior gameplay right there. That fight was beautiful.
I feel like peak Angormus gameplay.
Hit both. Yeah, that's right. That was amazing.
Ooh, Asmodeus struggling a little bit with those projectiles coming out from them already previously defeated boss. Killing that boss doesn't actually make the fight easier.
No, yeah, we're seeing the problem here with the Enrage with Asmodeus stream, having to deal with that Enrage mechanic while fighting.
He's almost out of flasks too. Ziggy, this might be a very costly death here. Nice freeze, and the boss goes down. Well done by Asmodeus on that monk. And also another thing that I'm really impressed by, I've been looking, I checked the ladder now, and pretty much the entire top 20 is within one level of our rank 1 player, which is just incredibly impressive. I think players have really stepped up their game this week.
Yeah, massive improvements. Like from looking at people's times last week's to like what their practice times have been and how they're going now, it's been like half an hour plus improvements across the board. Just because what we were seeing last week was really raw, unrefined gameplay for the most of people. Not too many people had been practicing for like 3 months straight, like Angormus. So now we're seeing people after a week straight of practice now at this point, and it's much better and much more refined. But we're going to see it again next week. Like Fifus is a top Ranger player, but we're still seeing some like really unoptimized management of gear and kind of like planning that's costing them a lot of time here, like just minutes spent in their passive skill tree in town, and that is stuff that we will not see in the future. That's just not how racing looks down the line. So once he gets that stuff sorted out, then it's going to be a whole different experience there. and is finally getting his gear under control there. But oh man, it pains me a little bit. The time spent identifying jewels and stuff is not
Yeah,
what we want to see. Yeah.
I gotta say, both Fifus and Mostly Works, they're players that at times just look so impressive in the way that they approach the game, and some other times it little bit noob POV. So I think with a little bit more practice, they're really going to be very impressive in the future. I think they've got a very they just get it, you know, they just get it. They just need a little bit more practice here. As we switch over to Sarge, who is in the same zone as Asmodeus, both monks.
All four of them at the moment in the same area, clearing through the Valley of the Titans and trying to see who's got a little bit of a lead. It looks like Angormus with a slight lead maybe on the zone clear. Yeah, from the looks of things, has done a little bit more zone exploration, but it's pretty damn close. We're seeing a much closer race here than last time. At this point, last week, Angormus was pulling ahead quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then maintained that lead all the way through.
I mean, I gotta say,
not so much.
He still is. I mean, as much as I was talking about how everybody was I mean, currently the rank 2 player is level 22 and the top 25 is level 20. So we are very close. But that being said, Angormus still seems to have a slight progression lead and he is level 23, so they're going to be saving themselves a lot of time from not having to spend as much time farming the Dreadnought blue packs later on. So a huge time save, and especially since we know that Angormus is just so incredibly proficient with his approach to what he needs to kill the final boss, that Act 3 DORYANI, which is the goal of this race if you guys are coming in late. And Angormus last week was pretty much one of the only players who did it at level 28, which is not just saving you a lot of time, but it's also just so incredibly difficult when you're under leveled. So knowing exactly what you need to be able to do so is very, very impressive. So I think some of these guys are going to be saving themselves a little bit of time from not over leveling as much as last week. But will they be able to keep up with Angormus? I don't know.
We did see a minute loss for Asmodeus there in the Valley of Titans as they had an unfortunate upset to a pack while they were exploring. But I also want to draw attention to the movement for those of you who haven't kind of like paid attention to what the players are doing here. Is you'll notice everyone has a shield on, and that is because the standard across the board for literally every single class is Leap Slam Shield Charge. So getting that shield, that one-hander, and using those Leap Slam Shield Charge. And if you want to look at how it's supposed to be done, Angormus is who you look at here, because you see the Shield Charge into the roll, except right then on the checkpoint. Don't pay attention to that part.
Caster
the
curse,
Shield Charge
nice,
with
Ziggy.
the roll. Yeah, that's right.
He's not going to do it anymore. He's fighting a boss. You're late.
I know, right?
You messed up, Ziggy. It's too late.
All right, well, we'll look at that later. We'll talk about that later. The Perfect Strike comes out with optimal timing at the beginning there, and a much bigger second one as a follow-up. That first one was a bit of a low roll. Nice third one here. And is this the
what is he aiming
spot?
at? What is he aiming
Angormus?
at? He doesn't know. The boss doesn't know. He's in his blind spot.
Zamarith is like, he's just stupefied by Angormus's just sheer strategy here of standing in the spot that he can't see. It's his blind spot, okay? He doesn't have one of those little tiny baby mirrors on his side mirror, so he can't see there. When Angormus stands here, Zamarith just like, he can't see him. It's right in his blind spot. So Angormus just need to be careful if like Zamarith tries to back up that he doesn't get like run over or something. But otherwise, he's just fine. For those who don't know, there is a spot you can stand in that boss fight where the boss basically doesn't hit you. So that is something I anticipate Mark is probably watching and being like, just fuming. Like, I'm going to change that boss. I'm going to make a giant meteor hit that exact location. I actually can't wait to see what he does with that boss in the future.
For hardcore players, that boss was one of the most terrifying things ever for the first month because his damage was bugged and he would tend to one-shot you regardless of the amount of HP that you had. So it's kind of silly watching it now back thinking, you know what, we could have just stood in this literally one spot and not taking any damage. So many deaths could have been avoided, but that is the nature of the Path of Exile. And yeah, you were talking about how our players didn't quite know about this spot last week. I wonder if Sarge is already positioning himself perfectly
like,
here.
Says in chat. The tricky thing here with the monkey is that they do need to like get that little combo build up first and get those builds down. But there it is, the damage. Oh my! It's just like perfect strike is insane. This is just even more than that. That was perfect one cycle of the bells for a basically instantaneous boss fight. Incredible.
This is what I was expecting last week. This is what I wanted. I mean, especially seeing some of Sarge's practice runs. He was killing Viper just about instantly before any phases, and watching him struggle last week was pretty painful. I mean, this is the monk's strength. Trivializing those bosses is where you save the majority of your time. Really well done by Sarge.
Yeah, and that's it. And we just saw it, them really struggling to make it pay off. Like, the potential was there, but last week they just couldn't make it happen, just kept dying. Having those unfortunate upsets just felt like a just fragile piece of glass the whole way through. Yeah. But now it's looking night and day compared to last week. It's so much more confident. And I can't wait to see what Sarge looks like in Act 3. And, mate, the pressure's on for Angormus right now. Yeah, like, they're a little bit ahead, but not by much. It's a minute at best.
It's a minute at best. I mean, mostly works is close, but I really wonder how this single target is going to be looking here. I mean, we've been talking a lot about the witch power up, the warriors. How is the sorceress keeping up? The class that everybody is complaining about. Pretty much the entirety of the Discord was making fun of this class, and we're seeing mostly works making it mostly work here. I mean, he's doing really well. Right. His name is incredibly appropriate.
Yeah, I know. I think it speaks to their mindset as making the best of whatever situation, whatever cards you're dealt. And that's certainly the name of the game for the sorceress from what I've heard from the various races. But they are trying to make it work. And it's a skill package with a lot of different moving parts, and to try and optimize that damage, there's no clear standout thing. There's no bell. There's no perfect strike. They have to combine a whole bunch of things together just to try and eke out an advantage. And Angormus eating a huge leap slam there and has to force to reposition, but looking all right now.
Scared. I'm almost scared of full screening mostly works. I feel like we're going to be here for a while. This isn't going to look like how Sarge's fight looked like.
Yeah, we'll see if it.
We're about to miss 20 minutes of the race.
Yeah, we'll see if we miss too much of the race. Not moving straight into the spot, but looks to be getting there now as they seek to try and optimize their damage rotations. We have a simultaneous fight, and we can see the side-by-side here.
Nice.
Side-by-side gameplay with Alex Pleblord on the Warrior for the perfect strikes. And how do the two stack up with each other in the end?
It's not bad. Alex, I mean, a little bit more movement from mostly works on the earlier movement phase. Positioning, pretty good. Mostly works a little bit further off. Alex obviously having to be a little bit closer. Oh my, the skills are even synced up.
Oh no, mostly work gets spiked away by the arm into a dagger.
What is happening right now?
I know, wait, right? This boss isn't even supposed to know you're there. Oh, I mean, another slam from the arm as well. Mostly, get in the spot. he's having a hard time finding that spot right now. But
yeah, but I gotta say, one thing that isn't identical in this boss pattern is the amount of HP that he's got, because for Alex, the boss is already dead, and mostly works is still... I mean, I don't want to say struggling because it's fine, but this isn't the sort of single target that you want at this stage of the game, and I don't think it's going to be improving in the future. No ascending. I'm still hoping for that miracle skill swap, but there's just nothing really that Sorceress gets a large boost from.
Yeah, I don't know what the strategy looks like for them here. It's such an unknown factor. It's the class no one really had talked about optimizing, so it's a bit of a surprise revelation here to see them doing so well. And I look forward to seeing what we end up seeing from them. I'm getting reports that we have a number 2 merc on the ladder who's getting added in. We might be able to check in on soon. My Driz up in the top right, actually on screen now, who's playing a merc, but they're using warrior skills. So.
Yeah, this is an admission of defeat. I don't like this. I mean, I saw people talking about this in the Discord. This is not how you innovate early racing, guys. Come on, you don't just turn a mercenary into a warrior.
We have warrior at home, Rise, with my Driz here right now on the budget warrior, aka the merc, looking to secure that demis by cosplaying as a warrior on the mercenary.
It's working though.
It works. Yeah, there's not as good passive support there on the tree for kind of like just getting that bit of extra damage with those real heavy hits with the there's Warrior has some of those passive points which a lot of players dislike because they have attack speed penalties but are really good on the boss fights, perfect strikes. And you can use weapon skill trees to swap between them.
Wait, what happened?
Which is part of the strategy there, but not such the case for Merc. What did
Hold
I
up.
miss?
Mostly works. What's going on? I believe they took down the boss, but he is reset now?
Didn't we? Am I looped?
We're gonna need a clip. We're gonna need a clip here. Something.
Am I Groundhog Daying? What's going on?
I mean,
Most
maybe they're
of those died on the
practicing.
boss, like right at the end. Oh no, the boss was immune. The boss stopped taking damage at 100%. Something went horribly wrong for Mostly Works. Looks like it might have been through no fault of their own. Unfortunately, these things kind of happen rarely. So he has had to go into a boss reset, costing him another minute of his time as he takes down Zamarath, although looking like a much cleaner kill this second time around. He's had practice. He's just getting an extra practice running on the boss here. But early access racing, folks, it does happen from time to time. Hopefully
Free game, guys.
Smoothed out. That's it.
Free game. I'm not completing that sentence.
Not yet. Later. Later free game. Will be.
Yeah.
All right. So Mydra's on the Warrior, not Warrior, as the mercenary. I'm happy to see the kind of the diversity in the sense that they're playing a Merc as a Warrior. That's kind of interesting in its own right. But I really wanted to see what we just saw a little taste of last week, which was kind of like a janky, but maybe there was something there, combination of crossbow and warrior skills where they would weapon swap and also have grenades to take advantage of. So I really was hoping to see some combination there because I thought there was some potential to like throw down those grenades.
Mostly works. Those ads are totally going to one-shot you if he gets caught out here trying to take down the boss without exploding.
Not so close. Finish. There we go. He does manage to secure the kill that time after a little bit of a tense finish. And Angormus is in the Torgul, the Defiler fight, standing right behind him, getting those perfect strikes right to the spine. Oof. Just imagine the satisfying crunch that would have as Torgul, the Defiler, goes down cleanly for Angormus. Very nice. Picking up an extra augmentation there. A little bit of gear crafting. That inventory is quite stacked with currency, actually, but most of that gets saved for a bit of a crafting spree at around level 28, which he'll be pushing to very soon. As we move into the later parts of Act 2 where players...
Sarge.
Oh, no, Sarge!
I was just watching him get pummeled. I mean, there were like 30 mobs there. Hits the Alk LFG, starts choking. He loves this stuff.
I love that he's got hotkeyed.
He's got it hotkey. I mean, this guy's a fan.
This
is prime.
He's got like a giant red button next to his keyboard for when he wants to just rage strike that after an unfortunate moment. Sarge losing a minute here, having a bit of time to the good thing is at this point your inventory is such a mess. You have a chance to clean up a little bit. You can try not to, you can silver lining yourself a little bit there. Like, oh, at least I get to do this. Yeah.
Man, that's costly. We have a little bit of a better updated ladder here as Angormus types the slash ladder in game. He is rank 1 with Sarge being second. That 1 minute is going to cost him quite a lot. A level difference though. I mean, Angormus is ever so barely into that level 25. So about a half level difference, but quite a ways to go for Sarge to get to the Dreadnought and begin farming that blue pack, which I'm sure Angormus is looking forward to. I believe he's going to be pretty much doing it all the way until at least level 27, maybe even 28. And then we're going to be seeing that mad dash towards the finish line in Act 3.
Now we get to see Guy That Dies a little bit, if you haven't seen it yet. Ascended and in demon form. And just look how fast the zooming around in demon form mode is as they dash.
Yep.
You take advantage of that high mobility. And I was very impressed with the demon form action last time. And, it takes a little bit of management to use it at the right times and maintain it appropriately.
Cool trick too. He skipped a checkpoint to refresh his stacks. Pretty interesting stuff. Okay, I see you.
Some interesting stuff with checkpoints I don't know if everyone knows about, but you can actually, if you do a reset at checkpoint, you can reuse the checkpoint to refill your flasks. Angormus was telling me how he discovered that. It's changed, kind of like let him prepare for bosses a bit better. So when we saw an issue last week where one of the players was trying and struggling with Viper and then was forced to reset and didn't have any flasks going into the fight, which is just like, it's impossible to kill Viper without flasks in a racing scenario here.
This is it. He's blocking the projectiles with the SRSs, but you can see that Life Flask is beginning to not be able to quite keep up with the amount of sustain that he needs, and he resets his demon form, which results in a significant damage loss, but hopefully prevents an unfortunate rip. No positioning in any clever game mechanical spots for a guy that dies, but it's still a pretty clean kill so far. And he's able to deal with the ads.
Yeah, at the same time, just kind of like incidentally.
Yeah, he can essence drain the ads, which is just so effective. I think. Wait a minute, Ziggy. I jinxed them. I mean, look at the flash. There's no mana. There's no HP. No, he's gonna have to reset his stacks, but he doesn't have mana to do so. Is he gonna die here? It's such a close fight. The ads are coming.
Lord, he just manages to get it, but the ads he still has to get out of there.
This is prime.
He's gonna get the flame ruby. He's gonna get the flame ruby. Okay, he manages to scoop up the loot, get the flame ruby, and get out of there when the ads go down. Mate, that could not be any more close. That is not what you want to see.
That was really close. That was
very entertaining.
Very fun indeed.
We see Angormus now settling into farm mode. They'll use the checkpoint at the end of this zone here, where there's 2 guaranteed champion packs just across the bridge. So they'll do a quick kill reset, even to the point of being efficient where they won't chase down like individual stragglers if they get out of position. And they'll just go straight for the reset. Like those 3 mobs there, just reset and get the next pack. The quest is to get XP juiced as quickly as possible and get those levels, scoop up a little bit of extra gear, get yourself sorted. And the exact level you go for does depend on gear options a little bit, but 28's about it. There's a big old 2-handed mace at level 28 they'll want to get their hands on and get that. Is he dead? He was so close. I think he died. He died. There was like a...
I missed it. I blinked.
There was the explosions from the kill at the end there, right as he was resetting. It was like split second at the exact moment. He obliterated the pack, and they just as quickly obliterated him as well. It was one of the elemental explosion effects, and he suffers a 1-minute penalty to his farming here.
Oh my, those gloves though.
Some gear, but oof. He's got very high life resist gloves, and he's trying to look at whether he can swap into the other ones for damage. But actually, survivability is surprisingly, you'd think these races would be just like full glass cannon, but survivability for Act 3 is super important because they aren't doing a lot of killing and are doing a lot of dying. So they seek to run through the entire act without basically killing anything except the bosses. And yeah, there we go. Angormus is finally able to move once again. Their feet no longer glued to the floor as they attempt a rolling slam but miss, and go in again, respecting the post-death effects a little bit more this time, rolling out of the way before hitting the reset. And there we go. They hit. It looks like they are coming back for a bit quick salvaging and crafting action. I didn't see if they hit their level. Is that a look? That can't be level 28 already.
I know.
It's only 26, so 26. He's going back. He's doing a bit of vendor fishing after getting a level here. Just checking and seeing what he can get his hands on. There's a nice little amulet there, but he's already kind of sorted in terms of that. It's interesting to see kind of what they go for and aim for. But flask upgrade, weapon upgrade are a big deal. Certainly if you can get any extra movement speed, life and resist is going to be huge as well.
Sarge.
So you can have a more comfortable kill in Act 3.
Getting a little bit stuck there for Sarge, looking sketchy. I mean, you're wanting to min-max your XP, but I don't know if he's not switching, if he's not skipping a little bit too much. I guess he wants that extra level from the Vanguard. No, he does make it all the way over here, and he doesn't actually kill those mobs. So interesting. Goes for the maximum skip. He wants to maximize the amount of time that he spends on these blue packs. And I think, Ziggy, also what you were talking about, mostly works in a really sketchy spot. He has to go back to this checkpoint. Like what you were talking about, Ziggy, before, I think in PoE 1, racing has kind of come full circle, where it used to be this glass cannon approach, like you mentioned, but eventually people figured out that, you know what, the best players really focus on their survivability, and you can't get any XP when you're dead. And Angormus absolutely felt that there. I think, didn't last week he also die one time on this blue pack?
He had one death. No, I don't think it was here. I'm trying to remember where his death was, actually.
I remember somebody dying. I guess it wasn't Angormus, but I remember somebody dying to this blue pack yesterday. But yeah, unusual deaths from Angormus this time
Chimera,
around.
that's right. It was the Chimera breath.
Oh, right. Yes.
Just ate the entire cold Chimera breath, just kind of like with a slight, a bit of bad luck plus a misplay. And you kind of have the same thing this time, actually. It's similar death, just with the flamethrower this time from the earlier boss. So, kind of we're seeing a little bit of a pattern here, maybe, where he just has kind of like a little bit of a misplay / bad luck on a boss.
Yeah, it's one of those things that is, you know, you tend to practice the difficult things, and things that you take for granted end up getting you. Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, I believe, is how that saying goes. And yeah, in this case for Angormus, it ended up costing him a little bit of time and allows some of the other players to catch up to the spot where he is farming at. Currently, Sarge already at that Dreadnought, Nadine in that demon form, trying to min-max his survivability, going through the bone pits, and mostly works. Finally falling a little bit behind as the amount of time that it takes to kill these bosses is just costing him a little bit too much time. But on the bright side, you know, at least it's going to be consistent, because I don't think it's going to be getting any better. So we can have a nice, consistent progression from mostly works.
28 for Angormus, and he picks up an Iron Rune right at the end there as well, and that looks like it's exactly what he needed, so he heads out of there to finish up his farming now, and we'll see if he has all the pieces he needs for his Act 3 push at this point. He's got a level 30 flask lined up, but we'll see if he ends up pushing for that. There's a gigantic weapon there, but he needs a bit more gold. Can he get the gold that he needs for that? Oh yeah, there it is, and picks up Leech as the suffix, and just slams all of the currency on there. It looks like, oh my god, he picked up an extra flat fizz roll on that. That is a massive weapon.
No
There's
way.
a lot of damage there. We're going to see some gigantic perfect strikes on that
and
thing.
It's 6 to 14 too. That is a giant. That might be the biggest weapon ever.
Top rolls. He gets those sockets on there, and double Iron Runes as well from the looks of it. I believe I did see him pick up an Iron Rune, so he had at least one. That might well be two in there. That is like an endgame viable weapon almost. It's a huge mace for Angormus. Very nice.
Actually sickening. That is a crazy weapon. I don't think we're going to be seeing anything better in any of these races, past or previous, or past or future. Sorry, previous. Hold
It's
up.
only missing like, I don't know, some attack speed or something just for a little bit of comfort, but pretty big pretty big one there. And now we'll see Angormus switch into push mode, where he's going to just be skipping everything. He's got the level he wants. He's got the weapon he wants, that's for sure. And now the objective is to go through, kill the bosses, only things that stand in his way, leap and shield charge past just about everything else, except in zones where maybe there's like, just a little bit of too much danger and he has to kill something. You can see a little tiny skip there, as some of those zones can be leapt over with that nice leap slam, and pretty good movement through here for Angormus with the leap slam into dodge rolls.
It takes so much ability. He makes it look so easy to just get through these, but you get stuck on every single thing here. So really well played by Angormus. That movement is really what sets him apart from a lot of these other players. I mean, that's also the case for PoE1 that I keep mentioning over and over, but really maximizing your movement is what sets the really good racers from the best ones apart. Absolutely. As Angormus begins his fight, and I can't wait to see how much chunk is this weapon going to deliver as he is getting ready to charge up his powerful attack. And
Yeah,
Ziggy, that's not that. Hold up, wait a minute. That's just okay, right? Doesn't even two-tap the boss. Come on.
It does. Come on, not even one-shotting. I mean, this isn't Monk Bell we're talking about. Like, okay, Perfect Strike is a little obscene. It does result in near-instant boss fights, but not truly instant. And that's part of what I was talking about, actually. Like, the RNG factor is not actually as big as we might think. Talking to Angormus, he was saying the difference between like a really good weapon and just like the base weapon with whatever random stats on it.
Wait,
and
you can do that?
It's not that great. What happened?
He crafted his offhand weapon. You can click on the small portraits to craft them.
Really?
I didn't know about that.
I didn't know that. Even without swapping. That's cute. I didn't know that.
What? That's so cool.
Some big perfect strikes there for a basically instant second phase for Angormus. No boss mechanics to speak of whatsoever. Pretty much ideal second phase there. Not a single miss that I could tell. He's looking good. He's looking very good.
Pretty good. I think this is the weapon that he should be happy about for quite a while. I don't think we're going to be seeing any gear picking ups in the future for Angormus here. He's pretty much just going to be going all the way until the end. I mean, that being said, he does wait for the loot. He gets the Regal Orb, which it seems like he was lacking previously. Nice one-handed weapon, decides to delete it. Yeah, he wants to get those gloves. That's why I was surprised. He didn't really have Regals for the gloves, which he now finally manages to Regal for an absolutely useless modifier, but maybe if miraculously from some boss he's going to get another Exalted Orb, it might just help.
Yeah, so we'll see if he makes any further improvements, but at this point he has pretty much everything he needs to finish out the race. It's just about that straight sprint to the finish line, and it is a rather thrilling sprint because Act 3 is very dangerous. The players push through 10 levels under level. Here we go.
I mean, this is clutch here again. Every boss fight for Guy that dies is just so clutch. Those flasks, they're getting low.
Mate,
HP is draining.
There's one more flask charge there. Should be just enough, but that mana is getting a little low. So if he runs out of mana,
there's no damage coming out.
He's struggling. That's no more mana.
Oh my god!
He's down to auto attacks. Oh, no. Oh my god! That was like 2 hit points. Was that 3 hit points?
Listen, it wasn't close enough for that boss. I mean, as long as the boss is dead, it's all good. Perfectly calculated.
The last hotkey, the boss kill gives him a charge. The charge instantly goes off because he's pressing it at like 1,000 APM and gets the heal just in time to not die there. Managing to secure that boss fight. I don't know if he wants all these boss fights to look like this. So I don't know how long he can keep these just.
I think, honestly, I feel like he does. I mean, this isn't happening for the first time. We've watched it previously. It almost feels like he knows what he's doing, right? Like, this
you reckon that was calculated? Oh, man.
Yeah, it seems stressful to us, but it's under control for him. I mean, if he's doing it consistently across all of these boss fights, I guess this is the strategy to be the rank 1 player on Witch. Pretty fun stuff, I gotta say.
Very entertaining stuff. Of course, they do have that energy shield to rely on, and if the boss is dead, there's not necessarily too much danger there. So you might be right. Maybe he's feeling pretty confident ultimately, as long as there's no follow-up attacks. But we did see someone die earlier after a boss was dead, so it can happen, and it's something you want to be a little bit careful about. And with only 200 ES, it's only got a it looks like 380 now. So
did you see that? Angormus going for the 4-link for the guaranteed 4-link, and he stacks up the 2 bosses and takes them out with 1 big perfect strike. So
I'm
clean.
So sad I missed that. So satisfying. He gets the fire infusion on the perfect strike now for the giga damage at this point, because that's basically what it's all about, is the single target right now. So perfect strike gets fully supported with those 3 sockets.
Yep,
which I believe
are still farming.
Oh, he's doing it. He's gonna do it. Is he gonna do it?
No way.
No, he's not doing it. He told me he might. He's doing it. He reset to get rid of the ads. He's actually monkeying. Oh my damage. Perfect strike. Oh, he eats the roll. Another monkey comes along. The slam doesn't go down. He dodges. He's got to deal with that unlucky monkey and get that perfect strike.
Here comes the big slam.
He misses the perfect strike. He gets pushed. No, he can't get the second perfect strike. He just needs one more, and now the ads are coming in as well.
He's sweating. He's got no more life flasks. This is going to get crazy here. Is he going to be able to dodge the big slam? Gets the big shatter.
Just him. Finishes it with the bone shatter on the ads there. I'm so happy we got monkey. I told him, if you do monkey tomorrow, I'm going to be so happy, mate. He said, I might do monkey. I'm so happy you did monkey.
It's 2 passive points for 1 big perfect strike, you know? It's not that expensive.
but mate, I don't know. It was definitely a little iffy there. There
was a little sketch.
A very high potential of a quick death there. You eat yourself a slam or get pushed with that roll in the wrong way, and those ads coming out of nowhere as well. Alex Pavlov having a little bit of difficulty here with the tornadoes not allowing him to perfect strike properly, and does have some boss mechanics go down, forcing him to reposition, but still gets a fairly quick kill, just not optimal, as the boss did actually fight back. There was mechanics, there was gameplay.
Are we having a clip on?
Oh, we
Oh,
have a
here we
clip. Oh,
go.
this is the oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me this clip. Oh, I need to see this. Oh my lord, that's so satisfying.
Yeah, I told you it was good.
It's like it looks like the perfect strike goes through the first monster and just like sends the other one reeling. It's so brutal. That was amazing. Thank you for that clip. I appreciate you back behind the scenes team.
You gotta
Thank you.
follow through on your hit, and it really showed there. Angormus taking down the boss
right there,
just like that.
Two res. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, if you can.
Oh, Sarge!
But that is a death. That is a death. Oh, I thought he maybe saved it, but no.
Oh no!
There's,
And he just
there's the arc again.
he
Oh,
just hit
no.
level 28, right? He started his progression and literally died on the first pack. That is not what you want to be
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah,
Wait, he's
the leap
level
through those packs is
30.
difficult. Oh,
It
he's
felt like he
got
was farming for a long time, but Sarge is level 30 now. So yeah, an even more powerful character technically than Angormus, and still manages to die on the literally first pack. So
I'm just checking my
suboptimal.
notes. 30 is a choice that some players do go for the Colossal Life Flask, because it does make Act 3 a good chunk safer. And especially if you struggle to get the regen modifier on the Giant Life Flask, then a Colossal Life Flask is instead maybe what you want to go for. If there's one in the shop there that's got the regen modifier you want, then you pick up that Colossal Life Flask and then maybe grab the extra levels just for that extra safety margin. But with how close the race is, that extra time spent farming and indeed dying maybe is a concern. But does he have that flask? Let me see. Yes, he does have the Colossal Life Flask conceded quick now. Whereas you see on Angormus' stream, he's got the Giant Life Flask. So it's like a 30% boost to the healing effect of that, which affects how quickly it heals, which is a big deal because that's like those precious fractions of a second are a big deal when it comes down to surviving in those like split-second moments. Sarge going pretty low through those packs, but having a bit better run this time.
Can he really get to the finish line here? Okay, there you go. Finally gets the checkpoint. That was getting a little bit sketchy with the amount of potions that he was using up. Man, this does... gets a little bit of desync there too.
Yeah, he does kind of get leashed back into that pack, just a smidge there, or maybe knockbacked or something. But he does manage to get out of there, that powerful flask helping carry through. Angormus approaching rapidly the Zyclusian boss fight, his arch nemesis from last week, who did kill him with a Frost Breath attack, which is quite unfortunate. We hope to see a much cleaner kill for him this time around, and optimally he is trying to kill Zyclusian before he goes on one of the platforms. So we'll see if we can manage to if he can pull that off.
And we're at the 2 hour and 1 minute mark almost exactly, and everybody's time is looking pretty good. We've got quite a few players in Act 3 already. It's going to get close. I think Angormus knows that he's got a pretty significant lead. Oftentimes you're going to be seeing players checking their friends list. They're adding their biggest competitors to their friends list so they can keep tabs on their levels and what zone they're in. I got to say, Angormus, impressive stuff. He's really not doing any of that, right? I don't think we've seen it. I do feel like it's... Oh,
he's
no.
having an issue with the zone progression there. He went back to check for if the exit was... I don't know that the exit can ever be behind the toxic bloom. I always thought that was always a dead end, but maybe he knows something that I don't. Because he does actually backtrack there and then find another dead end and then leave.
Sarge?
And he didn't kill the bloom. Mate. Oh my god. I feel like the kills should not be stolen by the NPC at this point after that. Angormus not having an idea. What is Zyclusian doing? He's not giving him a chance.
He left.
He said no one left. Angormus absolutely just reeling here as Zyclusian's unwillingness to commit to the fight, but nonetheless he does.
Oh my god. The damage though.
He leaves again. He leaves again. The frustrated wiggle of the mouse cursor as he's forced to wait this time for the pillar to come crashing down now so they can actually finish him off, which of course is the safe way of doing it normally, but not what you want to do here. You want to just kill him before he goes onto the pillars. And he spent more time in the air than he did on the ground in that fight. Oh, mate. Not the Zyclusian fight he was looking for, but at least didn't kill him with a Frost Breath this time. So it's an improvement over last week. Maybe we'll see a perfect Zyclusian kill from him next week.
At least he didn't die. Nice one, Ziggy. An improvement indeed. And yeah, Seclusion definitely took that personally. I mean, that was a much more interesting fight this time around without a rip, which cannot be said for some of the other contenders that we've been showing so far. People really struggling with that Dreadnought progression. As Sarge makes it over to Act 3, fiddling with his gear for some of those final changes. And will now begin the dash as Alex. Honestly, Alex is kind of keeping up. Hold on. Alex is in the Chimeral wetlands now, so he's approaching the Chimera.
He's one zone behind.
I gotta say, with a solid layout read, I mean, most players stick to the right side. Alex opts to go to the left. I think that's going to save him a lot of time. I mean, there is a little bit of an advantage, you know, if you are the rank 2 player as well, because you can always watch Angormus' stream and check where the layout goes. So I don't know if that's what Alex did. He's quite an honorable fellow, so I don't think so, but he is having a really nice read on this layout, and I believe he's going to save himself quite a lot of time compared to the sort of time loss that was inflicted on Angormus by misreading this zone. That being said, though, I might have lied. Alex keeps turning too early to the left, and the one time that he actually needs to turn left, he doesn't do it. Kind of frustrating, and he's gonna run into the dead end up here as well, but immediately recognizes that it is not the correct way to go, unlike Angormus, and paths down. Nicely done by him, saving himself a little time.
The Sanctum for Angormus has been getting hyper optimized now as well. He's changed kind of the way that he goes about this. Generally speaking, there's a situation where he runs out, gets one of the cores, places it, resets, until kind of, and then that repositions the quest items, allowing him to get another one to put it in. So you'll see several kind of like portal placements and zone checkpoint resets and things like that going on for Angormus right now. And honestly, when he was explaining it to me last time, how he's optimized it further, I was like, I couldn't follow. It's getting too complicated here. What are you doing with these checkpoints? He's like doing all these different things with it to make this zone happen just much faster, because otherwise you have to spend a lot of time searching the zone. Alex Playable, meanwhile, on the Zyclusion fight, which we know can be a little dangerous. That tail shot there can be a bit deadly, but the melee proving supreme here with a gigantic perfect strike sending Zyclusion, leaving. He leaves. Yeah, he leaves. Bye.
He leaves.
Comes down on the pillar. At least that does guarantee the kill. Yeah. He's on the ground now. There's nowhere he can go. Just sitting there, waiting for the 2 perfect strikes to finish him off. And, well, just a third one for good measure.
Nice.
Double uncut skill gem drops. Apparently doesn't need him. He's not going to have high enough level to actually use the higher level skills, as he'll not really be leveling much beyond his current point, if at all. All right, let's see how Oh, yeah, we got Jumping Wrath from Guy That Dies here. In the demon form, we've seen some very close boss fights here for Guy That Dies. I'm curious to see how it goes here, especially with the phased boss fight. Like, after the first phase kind of wears down your resources, do you get a flask reset here? I can't actually remember. Let's have a look.
I don't think so. Not here. I mean, you get an ad phase, but where is his HP? Why is he not clicking his life flask?
He knows at this point that as long as he doesn't get hit, he's fine. It doesn't matter if he has 1 hit point, he still has his 300 energy shield. If that's enough to absorb just one of the little hits from these like small arena mechanics, then he's fine. He wants to save those flask charges for the second phase at this point. And like you said, I actually think you're right. I do think he's comfortable. Like, I think he actually is. He knows how much damage he'll take. It's less than the amount of energy shield that he has.
I don't know if he wasn't baiting out the ad phase there to recover his flask before this next stage. I think that's what was happening there. He didn't want to transition into the next phase because you don't get any flasks in this one. So this is all the resources that he's got to work with. And I don't know if it's enough. I mean, he activates demon form on a pretty large delay, a ton of AoE damage, there's tons of zoning abilities here. I mean, he's spamming the flame wall, which SRS, despite the fact that it doesn't scale at all with this Demon Mama form, it still does do a lot of damage. I don't know how mana efficient it is compared to just having really good uptime on Essence Drain. He finally decides to stop spamming Flame Wall, and it's now up to the Essence Drain spam. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up the pace like this. He's going to have to slow down. I think the hit damage from Essence Drain is just not worth it. Maybe he was trying to maximize his output as his stacks were very high, and now he's going to take it a little bit slower as his
Yeah,
resources are
slows down
quickly
now.
depleting. He can't activate his demon form because he knows it might result in a death.
No, we're seeing some shaky boss kills here. Some that are a bit too close, and those resources, just the resource attrition of this setup can be a little rough. I feel like we saw some more
Yeah.
confident boss fights last time. They felt like much smoother. So I don't know if it's an issue here with like pushing through at a lower level than last week, maybe, which makes things obviously a lot sketchier. But I feel like we're seeing, we're seeing guy that dies here pushing and struggling just a little bit, especially concerned about that kind of running out of mana and losing steam on that DPS, not being able to keep that damage up. It's just making these fights take way too much longer, which means a lot more mechanics come down, which means a lot more attrition. And your class is already eating your life loss charges with that demon form. If you want to keep that life up to deal with any boss slams.
Here we go. He has to remove the demon form. No more flasks. No more HP recovery.
Mana's getting empty. The boss still has 10% to go. It's a little bit rough.
Looking for new abilities here.
Yeah, he's like, maybe I can change tactics here at the last moment.
I think he's maybe looking for inspiration to add to his sockets just to be able to do a little bit more here. Activates the demon form, goes full blaster mode, dodges the slash perfectly. That cleave will not hit today, but no more mana, no more life recovery. HP is depleting rapidly. He's not going to be able to dispel this demon form.
Oh, no,
and
not again. It's so close.
The boss is dead.
He's got it. He's got it. Oh, all right. Let's see how the rest of us are going here. Angormus has, in the meantime, managed to go through the Jakani's area. I'll give you a spoiler. You didn't miss anything for the boss fight. That boss goes down in 2 perfect strikes, especially with Angormus' weapon here. Angormus might have been great little skip there. Did you see that? Leaping from the low ground up onto the bridge there. So this zone here is very spicy. It's quite a challenging one, and that leap from the bridge down into the low ground, instead of like having to run around and travel down, just leap slam for some amazing skips on this layout. Last week we didn't get to see too many of the layout skips. There are quite a few that can occur here, so that you don't have to like wait for the water to go down and run around. There's some things you can do with checkpoint resets, but the big thing about this zone is that you don't want to be killing stuff. You just want to hit those switches and get out of there. It's a little hard to do. He's getting roped by one of the enemies.
It's because the mobs are hitting you when you're hitting the levers, so you kind of have to clean out a little bit, or you have to cancel out of the animation.
And here's where we see the importance of picking up the spirit and the spirit skill earlier. So that was likely the intentional reset, so you can leap down to the low ground there. Oh, that's the beautiful one. That's the perfect layout for that skip. You see how much time that saves as he like gets out of that pack, doesn't have to fight his way out, and just resets and leaps straight down into the low ground. Just actually an insane Matlan Waterways for Angormus here, with so many skips so far, making a really fast and much safer run through. Honestly, it's really impressive if you can get through here without a death. Generally speaking, you're like 8 levels under level or something now.
Yeah, this is a zone that a lot of players struggled with last week. It pretty much, it really ruined a lot of people's runs last week. I remember I believe Mercenary, the News Society, I think their name was, and they pretty much just got hard lock here. We couldn't watch their stream, but suddenly they entered this zone and just did an exit for like 40 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whole new society. Of that.
Alex Bloodlord's a total kill. Very fast there. 3 or 4 perfect strikes. Almost no mechanics from the boss fight. And he resets back at that stone altar. That waypoint grabbed ahead of time to make a nice clean run into the Matlan Waterways here. And we'll see if he gets the zone reads and have as clean a run through the Matlan as Angormus has had so far as well. A little bit of a wrong direction there, and but realizes it quickly and heads back down to the low ground for Angormus to head into the last sections of the Matlan Waterways here. So looking pretty good for him. We'll see how Alex Bloodlord goes, because Alex was, and that was who Angormus mentioned as his biggest threat, he felt. But that said, there has been some surprise. That's examples of what can happen there for Alex Bloodlord as he gets surrounded by a pack while he's waiting for the water to come down, and there's nowhere to go. You just get boxed in, and you either have to try and go for the rolling slam into
Angormus.
Bone Shatter. The portal skip. Watch it. Amazing.
He did it. He clicked the portal, Ziggy. Let's go.
The portal. I love it. Yes. I hyped that skip earlier, but you can save some time on the lever if you place your portal ahead of time in the right spot and spam click the portal while you're activating the lever. It's
Nice.
it's amazing. Yeah, I love that lever skip. Who doesn't love a lever skip in Path of Exile 2, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're getting to the
Beautiful.
last two sketchy bosses now, well, closely anyway for Angormus. Some of our other
Yeah.
players struggling. I gotta say, I'm watching the layout on the Sanctum here for Sergeant. For somebody who's only played as SFHC, this looks like absolute hell. Trying to find your way through this zone is just so ugly, as the layouts are very different depending on the sort of league that you're playing.
Yeah, we see him go for the checkpoint there. He checks around for the core and then goes for the checkpoint reset to try and reset the position of the quest items.
Yes.
I believe is the play there. Like I said, he started to lose me in the explanation of exactly how these mechanics work. But we see quite a few resets there as he like fishes for an ideal ideal
there it
placement.
is.
There it is. There it is. So you can see that quest item just kind of gets respawned, and he does that a couple times until it's like actually just nearby, so that he can see it on his minimap. And that's part of part of the strategy there. But there's some more nuanced optimizations that I'm still trying to figure out. Meanwhile,
Pretty cool
Angormus
strat.
heading up to the Apex of Filth. Gonna do a pretty quick run through here, and then into a sketchy boss fight. Oh, Alex Purple going very low once again. Definitely not having as clean a run through here as what Angormus had, with a lot of harassment from these mobs here, and he has to get a kill here because he needs that lever and he doesn't want to reset again. So he does clean him out. Thankfully, the Warriors Bone Shatter there hyper effective at clearing that out.
Oh man, I
Still
know
not.
that there's probably no way that we can get that clip, but it really reminds me of last week's race where Sarge just got absolutely blasted by the boss of this map. I believe that it was Sarge just gets blasted on the opening, and it was just the funniest thing ever.
Let's see that boss damage for Sarge on the monk right now with the bells on Sokotal.
Nice.
Mate, it just doesn't even exist. That you can saw one laser and then the boss is gone. Obscene.
Yeah, but
obscene.
Simultaneously, I'm surprised about the amount of items that Sarge is still picking up. I feel like maybe he could optimize this run a little bit more.
Yeah.
If he just had a slightly more powerful filter. I noticed the same thing for Alex. For PoE 1, it got so absurdly optimal with the filters, where the filters were saying names of the items dropping on the ground and all these sort of things.
Yeah, with the audio cues.
Yes, even for an Act 3 race such as this one, in PoE 1, you would be going through 5 or even 6 different varieties of filters that you're switching at the exact perfect time. And I think we're going to be seeing that for PoE 2 eventually, but Angormus begins this fight. Doesn't get blasted by the slam immediately.
Perfect positioning there with a perfect strike as well. He listens for the 2 sounds of the bonk bonk of the slam, and then keys that perfect strike based around that. It's a few of those explosions, but some optimal perfect strikes here, even positioning correctly for her reeling back from the stun, and actually just a perfect Queen of Filth kill with no worries, not even breaking a sweat there, and just the confidence to stand exactly where he did at the start of the fight, knowing that's exactly how far she can roll.
Yeah.
Love it. Hyper optimized, just beautiful.
That must have taken a lot of practice. I mean, this fight, because we've seen Angormus do it so early, there was such a big gap of time between him and all the other players doing it last week. I really forgot how clean this fight can look in the hands of such a experienced player as Angormus, because I think you guys are going to be seeing that boss is no joke for a lot of our other contenders here.
The ladder takes a weird turn at this point because now we see other classes and other people who maybe are like, I don't have as optimized strategies, leveling a bit more. So Angormus is stopped at 28. He's not XPing anymore, and he's dropping down the ladder rapidly since it's based on XP until someone finishes. But he's ahead on progression. You can count on that. While the other players, still XPing, and we see players getting as high as level 31 at this point. For example, Whole New Society, who's playing a mercenary, is level 31 now, so XPing real hard. Probably going for, I think it's 32 for the Bombard crossbow, which is a big deal if you're doing grenades. Oh wait, was Whole New Society doing Warrior? No.
I don't think they are streaming, but no, they're doing mercenary, but I don't know if they're doing the warrior setup.
Yeah, the budget warrior merc is what I mean. Yeah,
I mean, also Just to put it
So
in perspective, Angormus
Yeah.
from being rank 1 is now rank 14, considering how much players are leveling. But Whole New Society, who was a top player last race, was level 38 in the end. So again, they are rank 1 now at level 31, but they seem to be the only player who is leveling as significantly compared to last week, where everybody else sticking in those lower levels of either 28 or 30, as we have
There's a big
Quetzal.
range. There's a big range of like success levels in this boss fight where if the boss kind of gets out of, oh, that was good, that was good.
Nice.
If he moves around too much and you miss those perfect strikes and you just keep missing back to back as he keeps moving, the fight can take so long. But Angormus gets it done with absolute precision as he judges the perfect strike perfectly. You notice how he positions himself kind of in the middle of where the boss is dashing back and forth between, rather than chasing him end to end, which is how you get. That's how you get stuck playing like cat and mouse games with the boss, which is exactly what you don't want. And you'll notice the delayed leaving on the portal.
Ooh, Alex. That guaranteed blue pack getting stunned. Yeah, he gets stunned a little bit. That can get so sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah, we see the power of the Wind Dancer there, knocking them back and giving you that little bit of extra time just to leap slam or shield charge out of the way. And that's why the players love getting Wind Dancer for this Act 3 push. It just makes so much difference to your leap slam shield charge safety as you move through these last zones. But it manages to get out of there without too many issues and keeps trying to trail behind Angormus, just kind of one full zone behind. He's got to do his Apex of Filth and then the boss, and then get started on the next zone, which Angormus is starting right now as he moves through the ZIGGYD encampment. This next zone here, if he gets perfect movement, he can just slide like a little slippery, little slippery snake wiggling back and forth, kind of left and right. I'm trying to think of a metaphor here.
I hear you, Ziggy. I'm with you.
Let's see, because so there's a bit of a
slippery, slimy. I'm there.
You'll see how he kind of like wiggles left and right, kind of like a little slippery, slimy snake.
I see it.
And then, oh no, wrong way, Angormus. That's not how it goes, mate. Oops, you're supposed to stay on that highway, mate. There's this highway that kind of just cuts through the zone, but this layout's being a little strange. Yeah. Come on, mate, you can do it. Show me that slippery snake movement. I see in chat. Is Ziggy okay? No, I'm not okay. Look, I was not too bad. One little dead end.
I was with you the whole way, Ziggy. You committed. I respect it.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's just send it. Here we go.
I was watching Angormus practice this fight. This is a very sketchy fight for a lot of players, but most players don't realize that you can just about skip every piece of damage here with the dodge roll invulnerability. So I was watching Angormus earlier do the poking phase where you get repeatedly poked by the ads. He was pretty much rolling exactly into the attacks just to maximize his play, and just like that, he resets the fight, doesn't get the pattern that he likes, gets hit by the big slam, and was going to go through the dialogue once again. This is really surprising to me. This is a significant amount of time that he's spending here. I guess he wants a more cleaner fight. He doesn't want to deal with those flying stages as much. Maybe he can skip the ad phase. This is going to... Yeah, there you go. See, he's rolling into the spears because they don't hit twice in the same spot, which makes it more optimal, safer, and just like that, dodges everything expertly. Super nicely done by Angormus. So much fun to watch a fight like this one be played out by such a god gamer as he tries to take down the boss before the purple explosion goes out, but the boss is outside.
Yeah, she can do that. She can do that. If you knock her back through the shields, it can be a real problem, actually. You can hardlock the fight with that if it goes too bad, I believe. But thankfully, she went up into the floating phase, which, although it takes a lot of time, so he loses a bit of time here, it means the fight can continue, and he can hopefully get that kill here. Big perfect strike coming down. Depletes that energy shield for her. Little follow-up one, not as big. And then, he's getting real low. No life lost. Go! The bone shatter to finish her off. That was satisfying.
That was really interesting.
Queen of Filth. Oh, let's go. Here he goes. It looks like he's had to actually fight her a little bit more. He's moving around. He's
explosions.
He's lots of lost. He eats a lot of those explosions. A bit too many.
There's mushrooms everywhere. Oh,
no! He goes. Was that a death?
What a reset! No, I think he's alive.
Oh, he had to reset either way, though. Thankfully, he doesn't lose the extra minute to the death. and is forced to refind the checkpoint and head back into the boss. Does
He
go
had a
for the
few too
fast
many
refill and
mushrooms there,
everything.
paired up with a
Mate.
big old mace.
Yeah, it looks like his mace is not too bad. Double added damage with pretty high rolls. Not quite as big as Angormus's, but still
I'm
certainly big
talking
enough
about
for
her
this.
mace. He's had a little bit too much of her
That's
mace,
true.
Ziggy.
That's true. Yeah, she's definitely got the biggest one. Not as confident in the positioning and perfect strikes there, and she does kind of get in that corner behind him. He's got to watch out for those mushrooms this time around. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice perfect strikes there. Huge damage. Nice high rolls on the damage as the stun goes down. Getting some
So
big
much nicer.
damage. She does a little... It almost looks like the rolling slam kind of combos that the Warriors do, where she like did a bit of a roll in place there. Slightly unusual attack from her, but Alex Pleblord handles it with style and aplomb and finishes off the fight. Good job.
Nicely done. Very, very clean. And I was thinking about that Angormus fight. I wonder if he stood by the wall on purpose, because if you noticed, when the boss went out of the arena, it actually canceled the purple circle's phase. And yeah, I wonder if that was actually something that looked like an issue to us, but something he planned around. Very interesting.
We are in the final stage of the race here as Angormus makes the desperate dash through the black chambers, a zone that could be a little scary if you get stuck on any one of these little doors here. These monsters are very deadly. Mostly okay when you're in the middles of the rooms, but just those doorways can be a little sketchy as you see them kind of running through there, and if they get you out of position, you can really have a hard time getting out of there. Thankfully, that wind dance just buys you that little bit of extra time, and now Angormus with a clean run through the zone heads into... not quite, he's got a little bit more to go here. This zone's always a little bit longer than you think it's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, that checkpoint is about halfway.
Here it goes. All right. Take a breath. Oh, I thought I was it. The dramatic zoom in had me gasping. But I like those skips across the bridges as well, where he kind of uses just that little corner there and takes the checkpoint reset there and gets himself ready for the final boss fight. This is it. This is the DORYANI kill that he needs to get cleanly.
Take that thing off the screen, Angormus. What the hell? Don't show that thing again. That mace is absolutely disgusting. I'm throwing up over here.
Mate, I'm not. I'm doing the opposite of whatever the opposite of throwing up is. I'm doing that. DORYANI gets massive perfect strikes, just perfectly timed back to back right there. Oh, he does kind of like reposition a little bit here as DORYANI floats around and misses once, but not twice. And oh, I love that little knockdown there with the stun to put DORYANI on the ground, as he's just constantly taking every opportunity to check on his competition.
Time loss. Wait a minute.
He'd be like, where are you? Yeah, that stun maybe was... Well, actually, so he didn't go into laser phase. I mentioned this last week, but you can actually skip the laser phase. But no one managed to do it. But this week he did. No laser phase. So that's huge. Oh, it's a giant swipe. Angormus died in practice to DORYANI's bot laser. So hopefully we don't get a repeat of that here.
A classic. Nice, here it comes.
Yes. Oh, there it is. There it is. He's ready. He gets the perfect strike off right before. And that was beautiful. The stun. He like rolled under the boss and then hit him with the uppercut to send him absolutely reeling. Oh my! Look, just impeccable Warrior gameplay right there as Angormus secures the win with an absolutely behemoth run. 2:26.18. Mate, that is only 2 minutes off of his new world record, I think, which was... What was his... Oh, he got a 2:18 was his fastest ever. So not quite his world record, which was 2:24, I think, but faster than his previous run last week by an extra 2 and a bit minutes. And this is without... run from Angormus.
And this is without widescreen, which saves you a lot of time. But for the purpose of these races, you're not allowed to do that. So it's extra impressive that he's able to save this much time in just a week. This guy puts in the work. He's pretty good.
He gets his Regal to do a little bit of crafting at the end there as he prepares to head into the later acts, I can only presume. Yeah, just polish things up a little bit. Very, very nice run from Angormus.
I mean, he can map.
So
he can map with this weapon. I mean, he's showing it repeatedly, and I can't blame him.
Look at it. Oh, it actually has the elements of damage with attacks too. I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And just to like make sure you don't have any issues, the Warrior doesn't have too many minute issues, but just in case, little bit of extra mana gain there as well. But hey, that light radius, don't look past that either. That helps you locate things on a minimap, which without that widescreen, that's 5% increased radius of detection on the minimap. Turns out that's a.
I wish that was a joke, but it's actually true. You can actually see more with the light radius.
I know.
That's a legitimate mechanic, guys.
Literally a mechanic, yeah. If you're having trouble locating things on that minimap, get some light radius gear going. Here we go. Alex Pleblord, our potential second place warrior here, goes into the Viper Strike. We had a lot of players struggle with Viper last week. Let's see. And these times that are looking to be achieved by our follow-up players here are so much faster than last week. We were still casting at the 3.5, 4 hour mark. And we didn't even see everyone at that point. That's not going to be the case this week. We're going to see everyone, I think.
I think so.
Al gets clocked.
That's going to be the case.
Here we go. Alex Pleblord preparing.
Ooh, he begins with the perfect strike. That's kind of sketchy. This boss can barrage you and you just die immediately. So a little bit of a risky play. That's one of the abilities that can do a ton of damage to you. And she immediately goes into the not quite invulnerable phase, but you're okay, he actually just resets. He straight resets. He doesn't want to risk it at all. He leaves.
Boxed in by the orbital bombardments there.
My
it's like, yeah, no, I probably die here. That's not what you want. Ooh.
He's respecting this boss. Okay, I like it. Here we go. A reset. I mean, to be honest, when you get that phase, it makes things quite tricky too. So resetting there doesn't necessarily cost you any time. Nice big stun. No invulnerable phase so far.
Oh, it's
Here
pretty
comes
good.
the slam.
Managed well.
This is it. Now, will he be able to dodge this?
Yeah. There we go. We saw just impeccable dodge rolls from Angormus in this phase, and Alex looking so far very confident. Not taking any hits from this, and just beautiful dodge rolls. Absolutely beautiful.
This should do it for Alex here too. I mean, this is just so clean.
He gets it here for sure.
That attack that she just did, if she opens with that, you just die! And so he does, Alex!
How? That is not fair!
She did it twice in a row! This is why you don't open with Perfect Strike. He lucked out on the first one, but catches up with him eventually.
Mate, that was so close. What? That was so unfair. The back-to-back.
Can I claim that? Is that caster curse? Can I claim it? I'm claiming it.
Yeah, I think that's caster curse, Rise. You did that. Yeah,
that's right. That's what you get, Alex. Talking shit.
Damn. Yeah. Let's rotate in a new player here. Up in the top left. Oh, we have a guy that dies on stream now. Very good. Moving into a Zakotl fight on the Witch as the Infernalist in their demon form right now. We see instantaneous kills of this boss on the other classes, but Witch never really gets any instant kills, but can have some very clean, smooth ones. So a bit more of a slow and steady approach. And kind of makes up for that with the fact that they move a bit faster through the zones in that demon form. And honestly, this is a pretty fast kill. And you see them handling the mechanics just comfortably.
Clean.
Never letting up the damage. And that's exactly how it's supposed to look. Not like those earlier boss fights. Alex goes back into Viper here for round 2. Has a very bad opening here where he gets one perfect strike and then it's just constantly getting mangled by the boss.
He's a little shaky.
Attack from her. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit really. Oh no, he just gets stunned as well. Oh, even on a warrior who has, every advantage in that domain.
Nice stun. He interrupts the flank phase.
That was really good. Maybe that makes up for it. Oh, there she goes. She still wanted to pull that move off, just kind of delayed the inevitable there somewhat.
I like how he's not even looking where the mechanic goes. He just dodges it perfectly, regardless of whether or not it's going to hit him.
Yeah,
here we go again.
Not again. Come on, mate. Let's
she instantly does it again. He resets it.
He's done. He's done. I actually wonder if the stun kind of caused her weapon to stay there, so she went back into it or something.
It's possible.
That maybe his way went for the reset. Yeah. We've seen some situations with some strange. He has to reset because he forgot to refill his flasks. So another reset there as he uses the waypoint here to refresh the flasks, and then
anybody else
go back into that boss fight. That's kind of the new tech there. Let's I want to just check in every now and then just to make sure that some of the other players aren't on any major boss fights as well. But we'll see how Alex Purple goes on round 3, almost round 4, if we count that little reset. A little better of an opener here. It's a lot of the auto attacks and the slam there too. Just getting those life loss attrition down.
Nice stun.
Yeah, that was good. Let's see if there's any issues with the flying phase though, because it was kind of a similar timing. This is looking very similar to that last fight that he had to reset. So hopefully it goes okay after this part.
I'm stressing. Okay, that is it. The weapon is still down.
In the background,
Dodges all
Sarge
the
has beaten
barrages.
Viper as well and overtaken. So we might want to zoom out just after this. Oh, no, Alex taking that, buddy. Not again. She doesn't go back to back into there. All right, let's have a little bit of a look. Because Sarge now is moving through and into the Agarats after a very quick Viper kill.
Is Guy dead? Oh, Guy is dead. Okay, struggling in the waterways, as you should.
Yeah, we do see that. We see the Matlin Waterway is causing a lot of issues with players who haven't had a chance to practice that quite as much.
He gets it.
He does get the kill off the Ignite there. Right at the end before he goes down. And let's see, he gets the quest art, he gets the gem, I should say, that level 2 support gem, which is very nice there, as he scoops it up and gets out of there nice and cleanly.
I mean, Sarge is battling for his life. There's another monk who seems to be neck and neck with him, slightly ahead on XP. So this, unfortunately, we're not able to see the monk as they are not streaming, the other monk. But Sarge is probably pretty stressed out right now. He really needs to play perfectly to get this rank 1 monk demi. And I gotta say, this looks much better compared to last week's run. I don't remember what the monk time was. Maybe we can get a note from production, but
I have notes.
Oh, here we go.
Last week's monk times were Sarge with 321, followed by Arco HC with 328. But we did have practice runs from others of 250.
3? You're saying 328? Is he saving himself an hour of time?
Like I said, the difference between last week and this week, half an hour at minimum. Players have improved substantially. Yeah. So as long as we don't have any big upsets here, we are pushing for much, much faster than last week. But yeah, I've seen some practice runs of 250, but I think we're looking to come in under that here. Oh, except Alex, guy that dies.
Oh no, okay,
zoom in
production
on the
guy. Again? I thought we were over this. Come on.
Once again, just reveling in the pain and suffering of the poor players that die. Once again, and there is the end of the run for Guy That Dies, unfortunately, is unwilling to continue their run at this point. I am surprised as...
No way.
Are they have... where's Xiao Gei?
They finished.
Have they?
2 hours, 33 minutes. Yeah.
Oh,
2 hours, 33 minutes.
They just got it. Yeah, just a refresh of the ladder shows that Xiao Gei got it, and with Guy That Dies dying, we have them end their race, unable to get the demis. And a big congratulations to Xiao Gei in the background who gets that. Of course, they're not streaming, and there's no requirement in these races to stream this, so players are free to run secretly or without streaming. Not everyone can. We understand that. Congratulations to Xiao Gei for the play there after coming the exact same time and just barely losing to Guy That Dies. So they have a demi each now. I expect an intense rivalry between them next week. Huge monk damage.
Huge damage from DORYANI too.
DORYANI also slamming down the bell.
Holy
good heavens. Okay, round 2 on the bells gets DORYANI down nice and fast. We are getting the laser phase though. We didn't skip the laser phase this time around.
No, unfortunate. That's going to cost him extra seconds, which again, this might be very close. We cannot see the other monk. We're rapidly refreshing the ladder. It has not quite updated yet, so potentially Sarge is fighting for his life here. I do believe that Sarge got his demi last week, right?
Let me check. Monk Sarge, yep, he did.
Right.
But yeah, Sarge is being trailed just so closely by KPX, who I don't believe is streaming. So it's really just going to... We're just really going to be looking at that like bottom left to see if KPX gets the kill first or if Sarge gets it. I'm refreshing the ladder furiously while I watch the massive amount of damage from the monk killer. We're certain this phase is going to be near instantaneous.
Ooh, he's kind of close there.
Halfway.
Whoa.
Halfway. Ooh, yep. He builds up his combos again. Gets those bells back down for a big second round of damage. I don't think it's going to
be laser.
He's right in the... oh my god, he was right at the back there for that late. How didn't he die? I'm surprised he survived that, honestly. Third round of bells should do it. There it goes. He gets it. Is that the win?
It might be.
GG. Insane. I think he got it. I think he got it. I'm refreshing just for full confirmation, but I think he got it. Meanwhile, we've got Alex Pleblord's DORYANI Kill as well, trying to take that second place Warrior for, kudos for it at this point, but also to do the best that he can do so that he can keep improving upon it as he preps that perfect strike, but has to cancel it to get out of the way of some lasers there.
Nice. Good dodges. A little bit of spacing from DORYANI. This is not as difficult as a lot of the other bosses, especially if you compare it to something like Viper, but you can absolutely get one-tapped here at any point by DORYANI. A lot of big wind-up attacks, and he does also have that invulnerability phase in his second phase too, which fortunately Alex is going to be able to skip unless he eats the butt laser.
Yeah, nope. I thought he had the kill there, but the laser does go down. And
here we go.
Kind of just moves.
He gets the invulnerability in the end.
DORYANI with the Matrix dodging the perfect strike. There we go. Dodges the slam, has to wait and get back in there, costing some time there for Alex Pleblord. But he does manage to get the kill at 238.52. A very nice run there for Alex Pleblord. Meanwhile, we have now a nicely updated ladder with Sarge 2 does take the win there at level 31, 2 hours and 37 minutes and 39 seconds, with Alex Pleblord 2 hours, 38 minutes and 51 seconds being the official times. This is just such an improvement over last week. About an hour saved for everyone else so far, with ZIGGYD actually only being, and this is insane, on an Infernalist, which they actually got a 2 hours, 33 minutes. So that's only, 7 minutes behind Angormus? A gap that could definitely be closed.
And that's the problem with being the best, right? Especially if you're streaming, people are seeing the things that you're doing. You're trying to educate, grow the scene, but simultaneously, it's making people improve. And if you're trying to get the rank 1 overall, I don't know if it's as clear anymore whether or not Warrior is really the strongest class. Like, can you really imagine Angormus on a witch? You don't think that he would have a comparable time? It's going to be interesting in the last week. This is also why I was telling everybody that you really want to participate in that first race. You might want to participate in this one. You still can, by the way. You can still play in the race. You probably aren't going to win anymore, but getting the experience of playing is that motivation that you're going to need to do better in the third race. That's how it goes every time. Nobody feels like practicing.
Any ladders is very fun, right? Like it's it's great to see what time you get, improve on it, learn new things. And if you join the PoE Racing Discord, there is just so much knowledge sharing going on there. People are like super happy to share stuff. People like to keep some little edges secret for themselves so they can bring it out in a big race. But that's all part of the fun. But there's just also tons of people helping each other like get better there, and also a lot of friendliness for like new races. I've seen a lot of new races in there getting help to improve their runs as well, as they go from like 5 hours to 4 hours to 3 hours, and now topping the leaderboard. So still up for grabs is Mercenary, Sorc, and Ranger. I believe are the only 3 up for grabs, as we have a placed Warrior, Witch, and Monk already. So we're going to try and figure out who is the top contenders for each of these, with Fifus, I believe, being at this point, Fifus is looking very confident for a potential Ranger win down the bottom right there. We've seen like really good in-combat gameplay for 5S, but really slow town management. So that's costing them a ton of time, as they're like still kind of, as you can see, still like doing gearing while standing still, So like that, if they got to practice anything, it's probably like, you see there's a lot actually. People like practice, fighting bosses. People practice killing packs, but they don't necessarily practice one of the more fundamental skills, which is inventory management.
Yeah, fundamental is a great way to describe it. It really is. When it comes to PoE speedrunning, it once you figure out your inventory management, it's like you can see the matrix, you know, everything becomes so clear. Otherwise, you're just constantly overwhelmed, you constantly feel slow, and mostly works wasn't quite fast enough there to survive. Waterways claims another one as Fifus gets chased down by the giant blue pack. No wind dancer for him. Shoots the ground. He's fighting back. Those mobs slightly too fast. Fifus actually takes them down nicely.
Yeah, actually kills them. I like the damage that I'm seeing on the Ranger so far. But yeah, having a little bit of issue there. Not having that wind dancer. I think they're using Herald of Thunder, right? So it seems like not on their weapon swap, which I feel like they could have, but they probably didn't have the second Spirit Gem to do that. That would require, going and doing a whole extra zone that takes way too long. So choosing that Herald of Thunder, unless you get a lucky Spirit Gem drop, that means no wind dancer, which is makes this a lot more dangerous.
And also a friendly reminder, some of you guys might be like, why are you showing my Driz? The warrior already won. Well, this is a mercenary in the top left. Yes. It might look like a warrior, but it's not.
Yeah. It's like the class and the skill package that many people claimed was the worst is potentially the strongest, as even non-warriors are pretending to be warriors. Even mercenaries
I gotta say,
pretending to be a warrior.
I was reading the mercenaries discussing strategies for next week, and some of them mentioned the fact that you're just going to play like a warrior, but you're actually a mercenary. And I think pretty unanimously in there, everybody was like, no, that can't be good. It's like 11 skill points wasted. And here we are a week later, and surprise, everybody's doing it. I think it's one of those situations where they were trying to downplay it for the other mercenaries just so they could do it themselves. And it's absolutely working out for Mydris, who's having a pretty good run with the mercenary. If he can get past this dreaded waterways that really takes no hostages here. This is a very sketchy zone.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. He's doing a good job of managing that pack, playing a little bit safe, taking a little bit of extra time to kind of wrangle them a bit where he needs them so that he can get in around them and get that switch. And he pulls them all down into the waterways there and leaps back in, progressing the zone. Meanwhile, Wudijo taking on his Zakotal kill, and we have Fifus on the Ranger moving in. I'm very keen to see this fight, actually, because I want to see just how strong that gas arrow is and how much damage we can deal here.
Look at his skill bar. Jonathan would love this. Jonathan looks like this, and he loves every moment of it. There's like 45 skills on there. Thanks a big slam.
We are PoE2 gaming here. So Fifus was saying that the majority of the damage is coming from gas arrow here, with the lightning just being for the shocks predominantly. But gas arrow damage is looking pretty good with those instant explosions there. And mate, I love the freezing and everything as well, and the gigantic shock, 45% shock there as well, for just nearly 50% increased damage taken. You could say 45% increased damage taken, pretty substantial. Greater filth, equals similar damage, kind of having to move a bit for the second half, but gets a kill. That's good damage.
It looked difficult to play. It looked like the boss had a lot of opportunities to get out of these big setups that you have to utilize on a ranger, but still, when the damage lands, it's he's gonna click it. Ziggy, stop everything. Is he gonna click it? He did it.
Ziggy, impeccable portal click. Impeccable portal click. Well done. This is my everything.
This skip, yeah, I know you're so into it. I'm with you now. I'm sold. I love this skip now too.
It's fast becoming the meta, the portal skip tactic for the level. I can't wait for my next playthrough to just to do that alone.
What am I seeing on Mostly Works' screen? What is there's giant spikes? What is that? Huh? Was that his skill, or was that the enemy?
Do you mean these frost walls, my friend?
Yeah.
Welcome to the primary skill of cold chronomancers, or cold anything. Frost wall is a skill that summons a wall of frost that's intended to be used mostly defensively, I think, except that you can blow it up.
Stuff.
Oh yeah, you can shoot it yourself to blow it up with frost bolts. Is decent for that. Or if you summon it into either a large enemy or a large enough pack of enemies, it causes collision blocks to trigger exploding the thing, causing a large pulse of ice damage. It is an obscenely high single target damage skill, actually. And Pfeiffer's getting a suntan there as well, by the way. But it's also a little bit inconsistent in that small, quick moving bosses can just take no damage from it sometimes until you can kind of pin them down and then detonate the ice walls with your own skill. So it's cool to see some frost wall action here.
Yeah,
But
it's nice. I gotta say, I guess this was the big wind up for the sorceress. We were talking a lot about maybe potentially utilizing some kind of other skill setup than the essence drain, and I suppose this is the oh yeah, full screen it, baby. Let's go. Nah, that's good.
Is it? It's good. It's perfect.
I mean, he saw the map though. He saw the map. It was close.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. An optimal portal skip does not see that map pop up. So slightly suboptimal there, losing approximately 0.02 of a second there, and he's gonna be fuming about that. Can't be happy about that one. Meanwhile,
fuming indeed, for sure. He's so angry. His cursor's shaking. I see it.
It's shaking. Pfeiffer, after getting himself a nice big suntan, moves into the Temple of Kopech and is now getting ready to take on Zakotl with his gas arrow action. Quick gem slot sets him up. All of his gear management at this point has led to this moment. Let's see how clean a kill he can get, especially because this boss does tend to move around a bit. Yeah, he doesn't quite get the optimal gas arrow there. Goes for the freeze. Oh, that was beautiful. This prevents him from doing his little side-to-side movements. The problem is here that with this dashing, and I don't love the way he's moving around there. Ideally, you'd want to try and keep him in the gas cloud. So kind of pushing closer to Ketsuli to make him do that would be the play. But obviously, you don't want to get hit by those explosions. Nonetheless, does recover very nicely with a very quick second half and gets a fast kill. Honestly, I am kind of blown away by Ranger's damage here. Obviously, he spent a lot of time gearing and has pretty good gear, but there's strong potential there. It's definitely a contender.
Yeah, it's especially interesting because most people considered the lightning arrow and the lightning rod the optimal way of leveling in Path of Exile 2, period. That was the meta for the longest time. People thought that there's not much to optimize on other classes, but especially on Ranger, that seems to have been figured out for the most part. But we're seeing here that was absolutely not the case, and there was always room to improve, as we are now watching Mydriz, the fake warrior, also known as mercenary, trying to eat as few of those mushroom explosions as possible. An unfortunate vulnerability circle on the ground right underneath the boss. This is kind of sketchy. If he takes a big hit here, he has to avoid that enfeeble, which is going to force him into...
Oh, no! He gets shoved right against the wall there. Does manage to avoid any follow-ups, thankfully, but that life is coming back pretty slow from that gas cloud, just keeping his recovery suppressed there. Does get a nice, perfect strike. The second one is eating a bit of extra damage from that ad, which is just a bit annoying, but he manages to secure... almost! He has to roll behind and then gets it. Then does secure the kill, cleans up the ads.
That was sketchy.
And, good stuff. Whew.
He didn't want to eat the enfeeble circle, so he ended up... getting a little bit out of position, and then had to stand in the enfeeble circle in the end anyway. Wouldn't have happened on a warrior. You just kill that boss before it's able to even do anything. But still quite effective.
Woody having the more conventional, what was thought to be the best setup for Ranger with the lightning rods. Just the pure lightning setup, effectively, placing those down. And it does huge single target damage. It's got a lot of ramp, but less burst means that you're a bit more vulnerable to enemies moving around, which does happen in a lot of these boss fights. It's good for DORYANI, not so good for Zakotl beforehand, and not so good for things like Viper and stuff like that, which can cost you a lot of time. So Pfeiffer's gas cloud strategy does seem to be a bit better.
Yeah, I would think so, honestly. It looks really good.
I forgot this. This was the same as last week. Woody's playing a Merc, right? But he uses like an interesting blend of skills.
Oh yeah, Woody is a Merc. Yeah, that's true.
I love that. I love Woody for that. He's playing a style that is his. So we got mercenaries cosplaying as warriors. We got mercenaries cosplaying as rangers. Do we have any mercenaries being mercenaries? Is anyone?
I mean, this is technically sorcerers cosplaying a witch. It kind of works.
Yes. Well, it can be a little tricky to tell at a glance who is what. It
doesn't look bad though.
Sometime in this.
The freezes are strong.
Yeah,
even on a high mobility boss like this, it looks pretty decent.
She does move around a bit, but moving through the frost walls does also trigger them. So that can be pretty helpful. Like if she walks or rolls, that still does get hit by them. But ideally, yeah, you want to get those big repeated unleashes of the frost walls there. And there's a lot you can do there with Cascade and like things like Echo and stuff like that. There's a few different skill gems you can do to kind of like really maximize the amount of those triggers, but it can be really bursty. And there's lots of damage there. I see him not really trying to detonate them with any follow-up frost walls, just going for the repeated back-to-back frost walls rather than trying to like
that production
bolts.
Hello. Production switches us out.
Right.
Okay,
we'll just you know, as far as we can tell, he got the kill pretty cleanly there. We'll say that went down. But Fifus gets a big stab at the opening of the fight here from one of the guards. He like goes next to one of those shield guards and just pokes him. Ouch. It looks like we might be slightly behind. Apparently, they did get the kill down on stream. How bad?
Ooh,
yeah,
a lot of damage
delay for us. Yeah, just that something nice there is he can keep that DPS up through the floating phase where the warriors can't, and that gas arrow damage is just so nice. Damn,
you can absolutely damage during that. You cannot damage during this phase though, even though I guess the floating animation is similar. But this is where you have to go for the full-blown dodge. It's kind of close. Takes a little bit of a hit there from those ads, and that barrage attack comes out, and it is barraging right now for sure. Viper and Abutsi putting up quite a fight, but again, I must say I am impressed by the Ranger as they set up those gas clouds. Have I caster cursed? No more life flasks.
Don't do it right. The freeze to close out the fight is very nice. The freeze build up is looking really nice on this. That's that cold skill is like just lots of freezing there. Maidra is our mercenary warrior. He's on the Kitsuli fight now as well, having a little bit of difficulty landing those perfect strikes as Kitsuli does dash away. Gets a nice one there.
Doesn't get a nice one there or the nice one there.
Yeah.
Ziggy, come on, stop it.
No, missing a few more. Gets a solid one down. Has to deal with the barrage and take a bit of time to reposition.
He can't perfect strike when you're watching, Ziggy. Look away.
He's feeling shy.
He's perfect strike shy.
Oh dear.
Look at it. He was doing so well and you killed the run for him. Hello?
I can't look at it. I'm closing my eyes so that he can go. Perfect strike. Come on, do it. You can do it, Maidra. He's having a little bit difficulty getting over the line here, but still has one life last charge. Will hopefully be enough.
And the bullet face comes out.
Bullet hell just took a little too long to bring that fight to a conclusion, and does have to wait for the bullet hell. Thankfully, he gets down a couple perfect strikes there to ignite finish. There we go, nice.
I feel like we're giving this boss a little bit too much credit. Bullet hell, this guy doesn't do any damage with those balls.
It looks scary.
It looks like bullet hell, but it's actually just
slight time waste. The Frostwall's doing some nice work on Kitsuli there. It's a bit of a smaller boss. But their little dash skills kind of don't really move them too far away from the frost walls, so it's not so bad necessarily, and can even help activate some of the extra ones. The freeze one there, the freeze there is like, I don't even know if it's really that helpful, honestly. Oh, it looks like that dash actually phases through the frost walls. It doesn't actually delete them. Most boss movement skills explode the frost walls, causing them to take damage, which is actually kind of what you want, but it's not the case for Kitsuli, it looks like. So yeah, freezing him and just trying to get as many down there is good. It's interesting that he doesn't really attempt to even detonate his own frost walls, because that is like the typical strategy, but maybe is determined it's not really worth the effort.
Woody Joe dropping low, but he stays alive. There's a lot of vulnerability circles here as Woody is going to have to dodge. Oh, nice. He actually gets the stun off right as the boss is about to throw a big rock at him.
Once again, we see the absolutely massive FPS DPS that Woody Joe does to his his client and system and stream. When he really gets the skill ramped up, there's just
I
so
think that's
many
his
hits.
stream. That can't be. I don't think he's actually lagging in game, but it just looks
I feel like you'd come up with a different strategy if it felt that bad when you were actually playing it. But it does seem to struggle a little bit nonetheless. But it is some big single target.
Oof.
Oh yeah, close. No rock, thankfully. But the problem is, yeah, any of these bosses that move around, just like this one, just don't stand on those skills.
Doesn't quite get stunned by that first hit. Could have been really nasty for him. That Wind Dancer again proving to be super effective. If he was a Sorc or a Witch, That would have
Here we
been a
go.
big finisher. We've got another DORYANI kill from Fifus, our ranger. And damage is looking good. There's not going to be a laser here, I don't think.
Ooh, he's getting close, and he's got a freeze here as well, which gets him the time to get DORYANI down. Oh, yeah, no, there's the laser.
I ruined it. I'm sorry.
You are on a roll today, Raz. Well done.
What can I say?
Just drawing the race a little bit for us for viewer excitement.
I am an expert griefer here. Wow, we have okay. I refreshed the ladder. I mean, I don't want to take away from a ranger here, so we'll finish this up. But the ladder is looking especially interesting. We'll talk about it in just a second.
Dodges that flamethrower cleanly, but eats one of the red lasers in the process. But Flask is looking nice and full as he moves into the second phase here. I expect this setup's going to be quite effective against the second phase with the ability to AoE overlap all the explosions comfortably on DORYANI's. Oh, he triggers the explosion just slightly too low, missing that first round of gas clouds.
Ziggy, no way! Yeah. Apparently, Katsu just
he just gets the DORYANI kill moments before Fifus. Donkatsu just managed to get the kill. Donkatsu, I believe, isn't streaming, I think. Yeah?
No, that's the Korean player from YouTube.
No. That's Cat. Different Cat.
No. They literally finished the fights. Again, I'm looking at it right now. We are talking about the same player.
Is my stream delayed? Oh my god, my stream was delayed for this. YouTube Rewind feature had rewound.
He was like 20 minutes behind.
I had no idea. Oh,
how?
I thought he was still behind because of the YouTube Rewind. Oh, my apologies from myself and the production team for missing that one. But a huge congratulations to Cat, who just managed to get the kill just moments before Fifus, who also just managed a pretty clean second phase there. Congratulations to both the Rangers. That actually was an insanely close kill there. It was just moments between that.
Man.
So, Cat,
he's crying, he's sweating, he's thanking, he's blessing.
Oh, he looks so happy. I hope we have him up on stream now at this point, but he looks so happy.
No, we literally missed it all.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, like an hour ago, he was 20 minutes behind like an hour ago, so I straight up closed the stream. I stopped watching, and now apparently he wins Ranger. So, hey guys, sorry for your viewing experience.
He was more than a Sekima's run behind Fifus. I am so surprised and impressed that he caught up. And he snuck up from behind and evaded all of our notice until the last moment where he actually just secured the kill, like just moments before Fifus. It's insane. I imagine Fifus didn't know that was happening either. But both Rangers finished as Pathfinders at level 31 for Donkatsu and level 30 for Fifus, with times of 2 hours and 57 minutes and 46 seconds, and then 2 hours and 58 and 56 seconds. So just 1 minute 10 difference in the kills there.
Mostly works. Struggling with this purple phase.
You can be sure we'll be paying close attention next week.
That's an interesting interaction because he gets the freeze off and the boss stops bombarding him for a second and then continues after. Has to go for the dodges. Mydra is trying to get through his Viper as well, as we have a very close fight between our Sorceress and our fake warrior, also known as the mercenary Mydra, in the top left. Takes a big chunk of damage there. Not quite delivering as much pain as a warrior would, but still pretty good. Playing it kind of safe, and Mydra takes the boss down, while Mostly Works is still battling through another ad phase, sticking close to that wall, but will safely roll out of the combination attack.
So mostly is using the combination of Frost Bomb and Frost Wall here, which the Frost Bomb not only deals pretty good damage itself, but it also helps detonate those Frost Walls that surround Viper with actually hitting her, which is crucial on this boss in particular because she's so small. She doesn't actually really trigger many of the Frost Walls at all, so it doesn't really take a lot of damage from the skill. You can see that only one or two actually detonate, but then those Frost Bomb follows up and detonates nearly all.
Oh no!
Oh, big meteor!
Is this even dodgeable?
How do you dodge this? You notice he's positioning like right in the corner there to like try and bait them into the corner, give himself some space, and yeah, he gets it just before the purple phase. Has to kind of deal with some throws down the Frost Walls, but the ads are kind of bugged anyway, so they don't actually come after him there. And he does get out of there.
That was really clutch. I think that purple phase claims him every time.
No portal for Bunker. No, Bunker. No portal skip.
Bunga, no. They don't know.
Unfortunate. So we have Mydriz and Whole New Society are currently very close for the mercenaries. And I believe Whole New Society looks to be leading a little bit at the moment. So we're going to see how things look to be ending up for them. But it's just Sorceress and Mercenary to go to close out all of our demi wins for today. Let me refresh and see who is looking very close. Oh, Woody is going for that Lightning Rod kill on Viper, which is just so hard.
It's so rough. This boss moves around so much, and really the only way that you're ever going to be doing damage is if you can stand in your Orb of Storms. Oh.
My apologies for cutting in, but quick update. Whole New Society just closed out Mercenary with a 3 hours, 1 minute, and 35 seconds kill. So huge congratulations to Whole New Society. Don't believe they are streaming. Had a few secret players. Oh no, the barrages.
Don't know. He stands next to the wall. That's the risk that the players are always running. Whenever you're standing at the top or at the bottom, the attack is performed at random. And if you're standing at the bottom and the attack starts at the bottom, you really have very little room to react. But his arena is still large enough to be able to dodge out of these purple circles if he doesn't make a crucial mistake here. But this truly is the purple hell, and he manages to dodge it expertly. Very reminiscent of that Shaper fight from PoE 1. Flasks are looking good, but his damage, not as much. I mean, he has to really manage his resources well here. He knows that he can take his time with this fight. As long as he keeps his HP above 0, the boss gets stunned. He's going to be able to deliver a tremendous amount of damage here. This is where this build excels, but it's not enough to take down the boss, and he's most likely looking at possibly another spear phase.
Come on, Woody. You can do it, mate. Get her in that spot. Get her to stand still.
Pretty good pattern, though. So far, no spear phase yet. The boss is still staying on the ground. No purple phase either. The arena potentially will be getting smaller very, very soon here. And that's going to complicate things for Woody Joe. There we go.
There it is, and there's the kill at the same time there. His Chimeral Inscribed Ultimatum serving as a good luck charm there to see him through that fight. Meanwhile, we have Woody is the mercenary playing as a ranger, and we got Mydriz was the mercenary playing as the warrior, right? Up in the top left there. And we're just now waiting on the sorceresses, which I believe we have as our two bottom players. Mostly Works and Bunker. Bunker is
pretty fun.
I don't know. Yeah, what are we looking at here? Yeah, Bunker's a couple zones behind, so it looks like Mostly Works is a shoo-in for a victory here, barring any unfortunate upsets. Very different skill packages for them. Bunker playing a witch style, I believe. But yeah, we can potentially focus in on Mostly Works here, as they are the only class yet unclaimed, I believe.
Sorceress. It's full screen time. I think it's full screen time for Mostly Works.
Here's the reset for the boss fight. Here we go. Let's cheer them on as they come across the line. Look, last week we didn't even see Sorceress finished. It took them like 4.5 hours. So this is something else. This is quite the improvement as we come in for only just shy of 3 hours kill here for Mostly Works. And I like to see a bit of diversity in the styles here that the sorceresses have been playing as well. Last bit of gem optimization, chucking an extra skill gem on the Frostbomb for a bit of extra damage there. And that's going to be really nice for triggering those extra frost walls on this first phase in particular, where DORYANI is quite small and mobile, which, as you can see, just kind of ignores those frost walls. He just leaps over them. So that's losing you a ton of damage. That second phase is going to be really nice with frost wall, but first phase is a little bit sketchier. That freeze holds him in place, so the frost bombs can trigger the frost walls, dealing lots of damage. We are, of course, going to have a laser phase here. Yeah, the lasers are up. Let's see how many issues that causes him as he tries to focus on getting those frost walls down. He eats one of those first lasers.
He's positioning himself perfectly to soak up all of the lasers. Nice, well done. 3 out of 3 so far. DORYANI really putting in the work.
I've done that sort of thing before.
I feel like I only ever do that. I haven't done anything else. You can push the lasers? Wait a minute.
You can curse the lasers. I guess it counts as a mob, eh? Here we go. Second phase for Mostly Works with DORYANI. pre-positioning some of those frost walls to trigger. You can do that. It immediately detonates them. It's beautiful, nice and easy to set up. Huge damage, huge freezes. As you can see, like 90% of those frost walls clip inside of DORYANI, exploding on his tender underbelly, causing immense amounts of damage. Very good. It's not quite Monk Bell levels of damage, but it's pretty good, especially for a class everyone considers to be the worst in the race here. Nonetheless, looking very nice for a DORYANI kill here, and just like back-to-back freezes, constantly chilled, lots of lowered resistances from the curse, so lots of extra damage there.
Oi, oi, oi. Okay, dodges that. That looked a little bit scary there.
Okay. Yeah.
He was really
could be a little weird with some of the slams when it slows them down and you like get screwed up on your timings. It can be really strange until you kind of like practice with those new timings. It's the same on Chrono, but there we go. DORYANI. Oh wait, no, we not go. He goes for the immunity. He goes for the slam. No, get out of there! No, he got stuck on his own frost wall. He just barely manages to get away for a very exciting and close call finish there. As mostly works, I believe, just double checking the ladder takes the kill. Oh, my heart races. I feel alive.
That was a little too close for comfort there in the end, but he claims it nonetheless.
With Bunka being the kind of the second in place sorceress and still being a fair ways behind, I think we can safely call it there as the win.
Let's finish up the since we didn't watch a mercenary finish. Even though this is not the first mercenary, Mydris is the first mercenary in our hearts, as the other rank 1 mercenaries have not been streaming. Like, so
this is Warrior's little brother here, and you will show the appropriate respects, or their big brother, the actual Warriors, will come and beat you up. So, orbital bombardment there from the Spicy Hot. Managing to get a couple extra ones. Oh, he's got that laser. We had some issues with some players last week trying to get their perfect strikes off while getting zapped by that hand laser. Here we go into the butt laser phase. Gets an extra perfect strike off. Seizes the opportunity to go for an Infernal Cry.
Oh, he's going to
precise. Oh, no.
Oh, he actually lived! No, I was so sure he's dead.
He survived just barely.
How does he live? I was so sure he's dead.
Remaining there from that gigantic slam.
He has no flash. He panic smashed.
Yep.
Here we go.
No more flash left. He certainly doesn't want to be taking anything more. Ooh. Oh, here we go.
This is Prime.
He closes out. Oh, he just keeps getting harassed by that fire. And the laser. And the laser. And the explosion. Come on.
One more laser.
Yeah, wait for the laser. He's got to wait for the laser. Come on. No.
Come on, hit him.
Dude, he's got like 1 hit point. I feel like the Ignite got him. Well done, Mydris. Mate, thanks for making an exciting finish for it. That was incredible. Oh my god, folks. There you have it. We have all of our races finish here. And I can give you just a quick recap. We had Angormus, of course, taking Warrior first position with a time of 2 hours and 26 minutes and 19 seconds. Absolutely crazy finish. We did have ZIGGYD finish off stream with Infernalist at 2.5 hours. And then for Monk, we had Sarge take the top spot, where it looks like our Pathfinder winner was Donkatsu, just barely beating Firefest by about a minute there. I expect a lot of improvements from both of them in the next week. I think we're going to see some pretty crazy improvements from the Rangers, especially as they have a lot of optimization to do. If they did that well with like what we saw in terms of inventory management and time wasting and stuff, there's a lot that can be done for a very fast run. Honestly, the gap in the whole field closed so much as well. And for our mercenary, it was Whole New Society taking the win, with Top Ranger going to the Pathfinder is Ranger. Sorry,
the Pathfinder is Ranger.
You. That's right. And then of course the Sorcerer was mostly Works there, aka Lightspeed Cake is their account name. So congratulations to all our winners there, and the shiny new Demi helmets. We're gonna have a few new people wearing Demis in the next race, I suspect. And we're going to be seeing a lot more pressure on Angormus, as there was so much more pressure this time. It's just that, just kind of right at the end where he really just pulled ahead by about that 10 minutes. But not even 10 minutes, like 8 minutes.
And especially when we're talking about things like Sorceress too. Because, this was just one player with one strategy, one type of approach to Sorceress. I think with people seeing and being inspired that they can improve their times, it's going to get real crazy next week with that grand overall rank 1 win.
Yeah, we got to. It was so great getting to see all of the different classes finish this time. So many like different strategies and approaches and play styles. Absolutely incredible. It's been a fun race. Do you have any final thoughts, Rise? Or any things you're looking forward to seeing next week?
I've never had a thought in my life, Ziggy. Nothing for
Beautiful.
me.
Beautiful. And on that note, we thank you all, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks, GGG, for putting on the races to entertain us and show us some top tier Path of Exile skill, and all the races for practicing so hard to put on a good show for us. I am super excited to see what they have to offer next week, and we will see you fine folks then. So tune in next time at the same time next week for the grand finale, which will include a big grand prize for the top finisher overall. Can Angormus take it? Or will someone else kind of just yoink their victory from their hands, the sweep they crave so dearly?
Get to practicing, Exiles.
Let's get out of here.
Join the Discord. Get to practicing.
See you later. Yeah, get in there. Get in there. Help grow the PoE2 esports. All right. See you later, folks. Bye-bye.